What if there was a code beneath every dollar you've ever chased? A silent law, ancient, exact, and brutal. To those who ignore it, you're not losing by chance, you're disobeying the law of money. There is a brutal truth that most people spend their whole lives trying not to face. Nobody is coming to hand you wealth. Not your boss, not your government, not your parents, not the universe, not even God. You were born into a world that runs on exchange, not sympathy, on results, not intentions, on ownership, not expectations. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop waiting and start building. You are not owed anything because you work hard. You are not owed anything because you are a good person. You are not owed anything because life has been unfair to you. Money doesn't move for fairness. Money moves for value. And value is created, not inherited, not gifted, not stumbled into. The first law of money is this: you are not entitled to a single cent more than the world thinks you're worth. And if that offends you, good. Because that's the beginning of real wealth, not comfort, but clarity. It's wild how people think money has feelings, like it's supposed to show up when they're stressed, like it's going to knock on their door because they're overwhelmed or overworked. But money doesn't show up out of pity. It shows up out of performance. Your rent doesn't care how tired you are. Your debt doesn't care that you meant well. Your bank account doesn't care that you helped someone last week. This is the game, and most people never win it because they refuse to even admit they're playing. All right, let's get back to the post. Money is not evil. It's not good either. It's a mirror. It reflects your decisions, your discipline, your patterns, and your priorities. That's why so many people are broke, not just in dollars, but in mindset. They want to be rewarded without risk. They want freedom without ownership. They want outcomes without input. And the universe does not negotiate with that kind of thinking. Here's what you need to understand. The people who build real wealth, they don't expect anyone to save them. They don't beg for fairness. They don't complain when the rules are tough. They learn the rules. They bend the rules. And if they have to, they build a whole new game. Every rich person you admire has made peace with something you're still trying to avoid. No one is coming to make your life better. It's your job, your responsibility, your burden, your opportunity. If you don't like where you are, you're not stuck. You're just still expecting someone else to pull the trigger. A better boss, a lucky break, a magic investment. But no, the only thing that changes your life is you making a decision that you're done living below your potential. And here's the twist. When you take full ownership, that's when money starts to chase you. Because now you're dangerous. Now you're not relying on anyone. Now you're building value instead of waiting for validation. You think wealth is luck? Go ask 100 broke people if they got unlucky. They'll say yes. Now go ask 100 wealthy people if it was all luck. They'll tell you it was strategy, sacrifice, focus, risk. See the difference? It's not luck. It's leverage. It's not talent. It's tolerance for discomfort. It's not timing. It's tenacity. Here's a question to ask yourself right now, a hard one. Are you waiting for life to be easier, or are you getting stronger? Because those are two very different lives. One is passive. The other is powerful. If you're waiting for circumstances to change, if you're waiting for things to get back to normal, if you're waiting for someone to come help you out, you're wasting time. Valuable, irreversible, compound interest time. The most dangerous myth in the world is this: that something or someone is going to come rescue you. No, you are not a victim. You are not a child. You are not a bystander. You are the builder. You are the cause. You are the origin of the wealth you claim you want. This is the part people hate hearing, because it means no more blaming, no more finger pointing, no more but the system or but the economy. And yes, the system is rigged, but guess what? It's still your job to beat it or get eaten by it. The truth is, people cling to blame because blame is comfortable. It gives them an excuse to stay small. But money doesn't care how comfortable you are. Money flows to people who take uncomfortable action every single day. All right, let's get back to the post. There is no secret door to wealth. There is no golden shortcut. There is only this: get good at solving problems people will pay to have solved. Get obsessed with creating value where others create excuses. Get focused on your execution, not your emotions. That's it. That's the real game. And yet most people would rather be liked than be wealthy. They'll scroll for hours, they'll gossip, complain, argue online, but they won't sit alone in a room and build. They won't invest in learning something useful. They won't start with what they have, where they are, and just begin. Because beginning is humbling, because building is lonely, because wealth requires you to break up with your excuses, and most people would rather stay broke than give up their favorite excuses. Here's another truth you probably don't want to hear. If you were meant to be wealthy just for existing, you would be. But you're not. And that means it's time to build. Not complain, not hope. Build. Every dollar you earn in this life will come from either solving a problem, providing a service, or selling a result. That's it. And none of those require permission. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be famous. You need to start. Stop saying someday. Someday doesn't exist. Start saying now. Now is where the money lives. Now is where the power shifts. Now is when you realize no one is supposed to hand you anything. And that's not a curse. That's the greatest freedom you'll ever have. You don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to ask anymore. You don't have to shrink anymore. You're allowed to be the reason your family escapes poverty. You're allowed to be the first millionaire in your bloodline. You're allowed to be wealthy without apologizing for it. But you have to own the truth. No one is going to give it to you. You have to go get it. And you can. Here's your challenge for today. Look at every area of your life where you've been waiting for someone else to take the lead, and take it back. Your finances, your time, your energy, your focus. You don't need a better plan. You need better ownership. You don't need more motivation. You need more responsibility. You don't need more money. You need more clarity on how you'll create it. The money you want is already flowing. It's just not flowing to you. Why? Because it's going to the people who stopped waiting, people who decided to lead, people who understood that wealth is not given. It is earned, engineered, and extracted through value. So stop asking the world to reward you for existing. Start becoming someone the world can't ignore. No one owes you wealth, but if you decide to earn it, if you commit to building it, if you make yourself useful, focused, and relentless, the world will pay you what you're worth. And when that happens, you'll look back at this moment and realize this was the day you stopped waiting and started building. Welcome to the law of money. Money doesn't follow hope. It doesn't follow desperation. It doesn't follow effort. It follows clarity. Clarity is the compass of wealth. If you don't know where you're going, you'll work hard and still stay lost. If your goals are vague, your income will be too. The sharper your target, the stronger your results. This is the second law. Money follows clarity, not confusion. Take a moment and ask yourself, what does wealth even mean to you? Not the vague answer, not the Instagram caption. What's the number? What's the lifestyle? What's the daily reality? Can you describe it, down to the detail, or are you still chasing a fog? Most people are struggling financially, not because they aren't working, but because they're walking in circles. They wake up, do tasks, stay busy, but they have no aim. And without aim, all action becomes noise. So they hustle, but they hustle blind. And blind hustle is not a strategy, it's exhaustion with a mask on. Let me give you the truth. The world doesn't reward generalists anymore. It rewards precision. It rewards people who say, I solve this problem for this type of person at this price point. That's clarity. And clarity prints money. Confusion costs you time, peace, and income. Think about it. How can you expect wealth if you can't even define it? You say you want more money. How much? You say you want financial freedom. What does that actually look like? How many income streams? What monthly cash flow? What expenses do you want eliminated? What responsibilities do you want outsourced? Until you write those answers down, you're not building, you're drifting. Clarity gives your goals weight. It turns ideas into math. And once you know the math, you can engineer the path. Let's say you want $10,000 a month in income. That's not a wish. That's a number. Now reverse engineer it. Could you sell a $1,000 product to 10 people? Could you earn $333 a day from digital assets, royalties, rentals, or dividends? Now the fog clears, now the path is real, not emotional, mathematical. That's the difference between wishing and winning. Wishing is emotional, winning is structural. You can't wish your way to wealth. You have to architect it. Clarity is the blueprint. It tells your brain what to focus on. It tells your habits what to support. It tells your time where to go. Without it, you'll build a life you resent, or worse, you'll build nothing at all. Now let's talk about business, because money doesn't just come from savings, it comes from value. If you're trying to build an offer, a service, a brand, clarity is your number one asset. Most creators fail not because they lack skill, but because they lack clarity on what they actually solve. If your market is confused, they don't buy. If you're unsure of your message, no one else will be confident in paying you. People don't buy noise, they buy certainty. They buy solutions to clear problems with clear outcomes. So if your business is struggling, ask yourself, is the problem I solve razor sharp? Is the outcome I promise undeniable? Is the path to get there mapped and structured? If you can't say yes, the issue isn't marketing, it's clarity. Even at the personal level, clarity matters. What do you actually want your days to look like? Do you want to travel? Do you want to work 4 hours a day? Do you want a team? Do you want to be solo? These are not aesthetic choices. They are financial design decisions. Every business model comes with a lifestyle attached. Every income stream comes with a weight. If you build income that traps you, you didn't build wealth. You built a prettier version of a cage. That's why clarity must come before cash, because cash without clarity just magnifies the chaos. You've seen it. People get rich and implode because they scaled their income before they scaled their intention. Money without direction is a threat to your health, your peace, your time, your focus. So don't just chase the money. Clarify the reason. Clarify the role. Clarify the outcome. So how do you get clarity? Step 1, disconnect from the noise. Turn off the endless feed of comparison. Stop watching people whose lives don't align with your values. Get still, get alone, get honest. Clarity lives in silence. You can't download it. You can't scroll for it. You have to create space for it, not once, but regularly. Step 2, write down your numbers. What do you actually want to earn? What does your ideal month cost you? What investments are required for your growth? What's your freedom number? The point where you work by choice, not necessity. If you don't write it, you'll never build it. Write it every quarter. Track it monthly. Live by it daily. Numbers make your goals real. Feelings don't. Step 3, choose your vehicle. Income doesn't just appear. It moves through structures. What will be your main structure? A business? A skill? A digital product? Real estate? There are 100 paths, but you can't walk them all. Pick one. Learn the rules. Stick with it until it works. Jumping from one method to another is not exploration. It's self-sabotage. Step 4. Identify your value. What problem do you solve? For who? How? At what price point? What makes you different? Why should they trust you? If you can't answer these clearly, no one else can either. Remember, vague value is invisible. Clear value is magnetic. Step 5. Schedule clarity. Don't leave it to chance. Set time every week to recalibrate. Audit your numbers. Review your targets. Simplify your vision. 1 hour of clarity can save you 100 hours of waste. It's not busy work. It's blueprint work. Don't confuse movement with progress. Progress only happens in a straight line. And a straight line only exists when the goal is sharp. Let's talk results. When you operate from clarity, everything changes. Your marketing becomes confident. Your pricing becomes justified. Your content becomes focused. Your time becomes protected. You stop chasing trends. You stop saying yes to every opportunity. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't get it. You gain power, because now you're moving with design, not emotion, not pressure, not randomness. You stop looking around. You start looking forward. And the world begins to respond to you differently. People sense when you know where you're going. They trust it. They're drawn to it. They pay for it. Wealthy people aren't just lucky. They are clear. They know the outcome. They know the vehicle. They know the pace. They know what to ignore. That's the real edge. That's what creates calm in the middle of growth. Clarity removes overwhelm, because when you know the next step, you stop trying to take 10 at once. So ask yourself again, right now, what do I want? What does wealth mean to me? How much do I want to earn, keep, and grow monthly, annually, over a decade? What am I building? For who? Why? What structure am I mastering? What distractions need to go? What goals need to be sharpened? What noise needs to be silenced? Write the answers, live by the answers, adjust them as you grow. But never forget, clarity is not a one-time decision. It is a daily discipline. Money is not mysterious. It's obedient. It follows direction. It flows toward people who know what they want and why they want it. Vagueness is expensive. Clarity is profitable. You can't control everything, but you can control this. Your vision, your plan, your structure, your next step. That's the work. And it always begins in the mind. If you are willing to sit with the discomfort of being honest about what you truly want, and if you're willing to design a life around that clarity, money will find you. Because money doesn't chase noise. Money doesn't trust confusion. Money follows clarity. Always. Money doesn't respond to talent alone. It doesn't chase passion. It doesn't reward potential. Money follows discipline. Discipline is the printing press of wealth, the bridge between intention and results. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the loudest. But if you're disciplined, you become inevitable. Discipline creates consistency. And consistency builds the system that prints income quietly, steadily, relentlessly. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they lack the stamina to follow through. They start strong. They burn out. They reset. They start again. And that cycle doesn't build wealth. It builds frustration. What prints money? Systems, offers, habits, all powered by one force: discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's structure. It's the design behind a life that actually pays you back. You wake up early not because it feels good, but because it aligns your day. You track your numbers not because it's fun, but because it gives you control. You say no to distractions, not to be boring, but to stay locked in on your goals. Discipline isn't a limitation, it's a multiplier. There's a false belief that money belongs to the bold, but boldness without discipline leads to chaos. It's the disciplined who last. It's the disciplined who scale. It's the disciplined who turn a $100 idea into a $100,000 system. So what does discipline look like practically? It looks like doing the work after the motivation dies. It looks like staying the course after the first failure. It looks like building even when the results are invisible. Discipline is working in silence. It's not waiting for applause. It's not craving validation. It's doing what needs to be done again and again and again. The people you admire, they're not magical. They're not superhuman. They built a machine, a system that works whether they feel like it or not, a structure that feeds them, scales them, sustains them. That system is born from discipline, from showing up before they felt ready, from refining what wasn't working, from committing when others quit. Wealth isn't a single decision. It's 1,000 micro decisions stacked over time. Discipline is how you stack them. 1 hour of focus, 1 client email, 1 piece of content, 1 investment, 1 follow-up, 1 refusal to scroll. None of them changes your life alone, but stacked together, they become unstoppable. Without discipline, money comes and goes. With it, money grows, even in silence. Discipline is what keeps you building when the market gets loud, when fear spikes, when comparison creeps in. It holds the line. It reminds you that this isn't a sprint, it's a strategy. You're not chasing hype, you're building something that compounds. Let's look at the habits that print money. First, the discipline of clarity. You already know from Chapter 2, if your goals are vague, your income will be too. So disciplined wealth builders write their goals often. They review them. They measure against them. They don't sort of know what they want. They're precise. Every day is an expression of their targets, not an accident. Second, the discipline of routine. Not rigid, lifeless routine, but rhythm. Money responds to rhythm. Rhythm of content, rhythm of outreach, rhythm of learning, rhythm of optimization. If your day is chaotic, your income will be too. Discipline installs rhythm. It tells your brain, this is when we create, this is when we connect, this is when we review. The results? Predictable, scalable, sustainable. Third, the discipline of tracking. You can't scale what you don't measure. Wealth isn't a feeling, it's data. Disciplined creators know their numbers, their income streams, their monthly averages, their conversion rates, their burn rate. They don't guess. They don't assume. They track, and then they act. Fourth, the discipline of saying no to distractions, to shortcuts, to anything that doesn't align. Every yes is a debt to your time, your energy, your focus. Disciplined people guard their bandwidth like their future depends on it. Because it does. They don't attend every event. They don't scroll aimlessly. They don't entertain every new trend. They build consistently, intentionally, quietly. Fifth, the discipline of rest. This one surprises people. But burnout doesn't build wealth. Recovery does. Discipline includes boundaries. It includes margin. It includes strategic stillness. You don't sharpen a blade by swinging it nonstop. You sharpen it through alignment, through maintenance, through recovery. Rest isn't weakness. Undisciplined rest is. True discipline includes cycles of input and output, work and restoration. Discipline doesn't mean being a robot. It means being a professional. You show up when others ghost. You deliver when others delay. You review when others react. You keep your promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. That's how discipline prints money. It turns vision into reliability, and the world always pays for reliability. Now let's talk about identity, because discipline is not just action, it's identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, lazy, scattered, you will behave accordingly. But when you begin to identify as disciplined, your habits follow. You say, I am someone who finishes. I am someone who executes. I am someone who honors structure. And then your actions begin to mirror that truth. It's not about perfection. It's about alignment. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be focused. Discipline doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise faster. It means you never fall into the same hole twice. You're a learner, a doer, a builder, a systems thinker. That's what discipline creates. And that's what wealth responds to. The most underrated truth in money is this. Discipline makes the boring powerful, because wealth is boring. It's not flashy. It's not thrilling every day. It's repetition. It's optimization. It's precision. And the undisciplined chase excitement. The disciplined chase outcomes. So where do you begin? Start small. Start with waking up 30 minutes earlier. Start with writing your top 3 priorities every day. Start with tracking your money every Sunday. Start with learning one thing deeply, not 10 things shallowly. Don't wait for perfect structure. Create momentum, then shape the system as you grow. Discipline isn't born in intensity, it's born in repetition. Repetition is where confidence comes from. Repetition is where momentum is born. Repetition is where mastery lives. And mastery creates margin. Margin of income, margin of time, margin of peace. You build that through disciplined repetition, not random intensity. Remember this. Your goals don't care how you feel. Your bank account doesn't care about your excuses. Your future doesn't care if you were tired today. It only cares whether you showed up, whether you executed, whether you repeated the habit that compounds. That's the cost of freedom. Discipline today, so you don't rent your time tomorrow. Every great financial transformation is built on a foundation of boring decisions done consistently. You don't see them, but they are the skeleton behind every breakthrough. Discipline is doing the right thing long enough that the world can't ignore you anymore. And when it does, you'll be ready. Not because you hoped, but because you prepared. There is a truth in the modern economy that most people never confront. Not because it's hidden, but because it's uncomfortable. You are already the product. From the moment you wake up and reach for your phone, from the ads you scroll past, from the apps you use, the content you like, the choices you make, you're being monetized. Even if you're not selling anything, even if you think you're just watching, listening, relaxing, you are being sold. Your attention, your behavior, your preferences, your time. They're not just being tracked, they're being converted into revenue for someone else. The question is not whether you are a product, the question is whether you are the one profiting from it. If you're not building something, you are being used to build something. That's how this digital world is wired. This is not conspiracy. This is code. And the algorithm doesn't care how you feel about it. It rewards action. It rewards design. It rewards those who step out of consumption and into creation. The truth is, your attention is the most valuable currency you possess, and every day you spend it. Scrolling, liking, reacting, buying, comparing. Most people don't even notice what they're giving away. But data is currency. Your choices are leverage. And in the background, someone else is profiting from your routine. You are already generating value. The only question is who's capturing it. Are you the customer or the commodity? Are you using the platforms or are they using you? This is not judgment. This is architecture. And once you understand the structure, you can change your position in it. Think about this. Every minute you spend consuming without purpose, someone else is getting paid. The video you watch, the podcast you play, the feed you scroll, the story you tap, all of it is monetized, but not by you. That's not inherently bad, but it becomes dangerous when you believe you're off the grid just because you're not selling anything. The game didn't disappear, you just stopped participating as a player. Now let's flip the script. What if you became the product by design? What if instead of being used by the system, you leveraged it? What if your story, your skill, your voice, your knowledge became something others paid attention to? That's the modern model. You don't need a factory, you need presence, you need positioning, you need clarity of value. You are already the product, but most people aren't packaging themselves on purpose. They're giving away value for free while wondering why nothing is changing. You talk, you post, you share, you influence, but you do it without a structure that captures value. So you stay stuck in a loop, valuable, but broke, talented, but unseen, busy, but unprofitable. This is where ownership begins. You must start viewing yourself as an asset, not just a body, not just a follower, not just a consumer, but as a product with value, intention, and a strategy. Who are you here to serve? What problem do you solve? What transformation can you deliver? And how do you want to package it through content, coaching, products, software, writing? The form is flexible, but the purpose must be firm. Because when you don't define yourself, the market defines you, and it always values you lower than you deserve. This is how people get trapped. They play small to fit the algorithm. They shrink their vision to chase light. They copy others instead of clarifying their own unique signal. And eventually, they forget they ever had something worth building. You are the brand. Your mind is the product. Your ability to communicate, solve problems, and capture attention, that's your digital equity. Even if you sell nothing, you are selling every time you show up online. Your energy, your values, your time, that energy must be protected. And more importantly, it must be monetized intentionally, or someone else will do it for you. We live in an era of platforms. You don't need permission anymore. You don't need a record label, a publisher, a boss. You need a decision that you will no longer give away your energy without a return, that you will build yourself into a system, that your attention is no longer for rent, it's an asset, that your presence is not just noise, it's a structure. Start small. You have something worth capturing, a skill, a story, a system, a perspective. Write about it, teach it, record it, package it, sell it. And if you don't know how yet, learn, because this is not optional anymore. The digital economy is real, and if you're not using it, you are being used by it. Let's make this practical. If you've spent more hours this week scrolling than building, you're leaking power. If you've spent more time consuming than producing, you're financing someone else's empire. If you've been talking about starting but still haven't posted, recorded, shipped, or charged, you're waiting for permission in a world that only rewards action. You are already the product, but starting today, you can become the owner. Own your message, own your platform, own your process, own your monetization. Don't just show up with structure. Don't just go viral, go valuable. Don't just post, position. There is no perfect time. There's just a window where you decide to stop being a passive participant and become a builder. A window where you recognize that your knowledge, your presence, your value is already being absorbed into the machine. You just haven't been profiting from it yet. That changes today. So what do you build? You build a message. You build trust. You build a product or a pathway. You build systems that allow your effort to scale. You build assets that outlive your time. And you build the internal belief that your voice matters. Not because the algorithm says so, but because you do. You are not invisible. You are underutilized. Your potential is not lacking. Your packaging is. It's time to refine, time to organize, time to clarify what you do, who you serve, and how you deliver it. You already have enough to start. You already have something someone else is looking for. And every day you don't make it accessible, they buy it from someone else. This is not about fame. This is not about chasing vanity metrics. This is about recognizing that your life is a source of value, your mind is a platform, and your ability to systemize your output, that is your financial freedom. You are already the product, and when you decide to take ownership of that, you become the profit center instead of the pawn. You want freedom? Then build the structure that prints it. Build once, earn often, create once, distribute endlessly, solve once, scale forever. Because when you stop renting your identity to other people's platforms and start architecting your own, that's when your time becomes your own again. That's when your income detaches from ours. That's when your voice becomes your vehicle. You are already the product. Now it's time to become the owner. Every decision has a cost. Every shortcut has a consequence. Every delay comes with a price tag. The life you live is the exact price you've paid for the choices you've made. There is no such thing as a free life. There is no such thing as no cost. You either pay in effort or you pay in regret. You pay now in discipline or you pay later in scarcity. This is the fifth law. The price you pay is the life you live. You want freedom? That costs discipline. You want wealth? That costs clarity, time, and focused effort. You want health? That costs restraint. You want peace? That costs boundaries. The question is never, can I have it? The question is, am I willing to pay the price required to get it and keep it? Because whether you realize it or not, you're already paying. Every time you hit snooze, you pay with lost momentum. Every time you scroll for an hour, you pay with opportunity. Every time you delay action, you pay with stagnation. The price is always being paid, but the return depends on how intentional you are about where your currency goes. You see people with success and assume they're lucky. You don't see the years of cost, the sacrifices, the missed parties, the failed launches, the 5 a.m.s, the 1 a.m.s, the lonely seasons, the broken comfort zones. You want the outcome, but you're resisting the cost. And that resistance, it's keeping you average. Every time you avoid the price, it doesn't disappear. It gets transferred to your future self, to your peace, to your options. You push the discomfort into tomorrow, and one day you wake up and realize tomorrow has become your reality. A life half-lived, a dream unbuilt, a routine you didn't choose but one you now depend on. The cost of inaction is the most expensive price tag in existence because it pretends to be free. It tells you just wait. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you someday, and you believe it because waiting feels safer than trying. But waiting is not free. It's robbing you silently, invisibly, relentlessly. Here's the truth. You can't cheat the price. You can't negotiate your way out of the grind. You can't pray away the discomfort. You either pay in struggle now or you pay in suffering later. The pain of effort is temporary. The pain of regret, it echoes. You need to stop asking, is it hard, and start asking, is it worth it? Because everything worth building comes with pain. Everything worth having comes with resistance. But so does staying stuck. Staying broke is painful. Living paycheck to paycheck is painful. Answering to people you don't respect is painful. Being owned by your schedule, your bills, your guilt, all of it is painful. So don't chase comfort. Choose your pain. Build the pain that days you back. Sacrifice now for a return later, not the other way around. Because comfort today often buys chains tomorrow. But discomfort today buys freedom down the line. So what does this look like? It looks like investing time instead of wasting it. It looks like saving when you want to spend. It looks like building something boring today so your life gets interesting later. It looks like sitting alone with your ideas while others party. It looks like showing up when you don't feel like it. It looks like pushing through even when no one claps, especially then. The life you're living right now, whether you like it or not, is a reflection of what you've been willing to pay. Not just with money, but with focus, with time, with commitment, with self-respect. If you want a different life, it's simple. Pay a different price. This is not about self-punishment. This is about self-mastery. It's about understanding that all progress has a cost and all comfort has a ceiling. When you start valuing long-term rewards over short-term relief, you begin to build differently. You don't need instant gratification. You need alignment. You need a vision that's strong enough to carry you through the hard parts. Ask yourself, what have I been unwilling to pay for, and what has that cost me? Have you avoided the price of saying no and ended up with a life filled with things that drain you? Have you avoided the price of self-discipline and built habits that steal your time and money? Have you avoided the price of risk and now live in a cage that looks safe but feels like failure? Freedom is not the absence of effort. It's the reward for intentional effort. You don't get it by avoiding the grind. You get it by choosing the grind that aligns with your future, not your fear. You build leverage. You build options. You build wealth. And those are the returns on a price well paid. The people who live on their terms, they're not lucky. They're not chosen. They're consistent. They decided the price was worth it, and they paid it daily. Not perfectly, but persistently. They built when it was boring. They kept going when it was invisible. They kept learning when they felt lost. They kept building even after they failed. And here's the real truth. Once you start paying the right price, your life starts paying you back. You get clarity. You get momentum. You get trust in yourself. You stop hoping and start harvesting. You don't chase anymore. You don't beg anymore. You don't settle anymore. Because you know you built this. You earned this. You paid the price. The life you want? It's expensive, but not in money, in commitment, in courage, in focus. The question is, are you finally willing to pay what it actually costs? Not once, every day, because freedom is rented, and the rent is due daily. Let's get practical. What are the daily prices that compound? Waking up an hour earlier to focus before the world distracts you. Reading instead of scrolling. Selling instead of stalling. Working when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Tracking your income. Saying no to fake urgency. Investing in your skill set. Cutting people who blur your boundaries. Creating assets instead of chasing applause. These are the micro costs. They feel small, but they build everything. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You need to identify the price you've been avoiding and start paying it now. That one conversation, that one routine, that one risk. You already know what it is. Stop pretending you don't. You want to feel powerful. Stop looking for the easy way. Start choosing the valuable way. Because at the end of the day, your results don't lie. Your health reflects your food choices. Your income reflects your value creation. Your peace reflects your boundaries. Your time reflects your discipline. If you don't like what you see, change what you're paying. The price you pay is the life you live. So raise your standards. Pay more now, in focus, in effort, in boldness, so you can collect later, in peace, in wealth, in options. Stop waiting for a cheaper life. It doesn't exist. There is no shortcut that leads to power, only payment and only ownership. Your dream life is not reserved, it's not protected, it's not out of reach, it's priced. And you can buy it with daily decisions. Pay the price, live the life. Money doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how hard you work. It doesn't care what your degree says or what your resume shows. The world pays those who solve problems. That's it. That's the law. You want more income? Solve a bigger problem. You want freedom? Solve a problem that scales. You want leverage? Solve it in a way others can't. People don't pay for effort. They pay for outcomes. And once you understand that, everything about how you earn money begins to shift. The broke complain, the rich solve, the middle class waits for instructions. The wealthy create answers. This is not about intelligence, it's about attention, observation, execution. The world is filled with problems. Most people are too distracted to notice. But the ones who build wealth, they walk into the noise and ask, what's broken here and how can I fix it? That's the first mindset shift. You stop looking at money as something to get and start looking at it as a byproduct of value you provide. Money is not the root, it's the fruit. And that fruit grows on the tree of problem solving. Let's get practical. Every dollar in your bank account came from a problem you helped someone solve. Whether you cleaned a house, built a website, delivered a package, or ran a company, there was a problem. You solved it. You got paid. So if you want to earn more, the question becomes, what problems can I solve faster, better, or for more people? The market doesn't reward your identity. It rewards your utility. Nobody pays you because you need it. They pay you because you help them move forward. Emotion might trigger a sale, but outcomes justify the price. If you want recurring income, become the kind of person who delivers recurring results. You don't need a revolutionary idea. You need practical vision. Look around your industry. Look at your job. Look at your community. Look at your own life. What are people struggling with? What's slow, expensive, complicated, confusing, or frustrating? Every complaint is a cash signal. Every inefficiency is a window. Every pain point is a paycheck waiting for a process. The secret: most people complain, few take action. You want money? Be the action taker. While they complain about the system, you design a service. While they whine about the gap, you create the bridge. While they post about problems, you become the solution. That's where the money lives. There's a saying, find a painful problem, solve it once, and get paid forever. That's leverage. That's product design. That's how wealthy people think. They don't solve it again and again with effort. They solve it once and structure it to scale. That might look like a digital course that teaches what they've mastered, a subscription model that delivers ongoing service, software that automates a repeated task, a team that handles fulfillment so they can focus on innovation. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have to sharpen it, make it faster, easier, clearer, make it serve people in a way they've never been served. And suddenly, you're not just valuable, you're essential. And essential people don't chase money. Money chases them. So let's break this down. Step 1, identify the problem. Don't overthink it. Start with what frustrates you. What wastes your time? What do people always ask you for help with? If 10 people have the same question, that's a signal. If hundreds struggle with it, that's a market. Step 2, understand the cost of that problem. Why would someone pay to fix this? Because it costs them time. Because it creates stress. Because it makes them feel stuck, weak, frustrated, behind. Money follows urgency. If the problem creates urgency, the solution creates income. The deeper the pain, the more they'll pay. Step 3, design a result, not a product. Nobody wants your product. They want what it does for them. They want saved time. They want more peace. They want simplicity. They want speed. They want status. They want clarity. Your product or service is just the vehicle. What they're buying is freedom from something. That's why vague offers don't sell, but clear outcomes do. You're not selling coaching, you're selling transformation. You're not selling videos, you're selling visibility. You're not selling advice, you're selling confidence, clarity, direction. Say what you solve, say how it works, say what it helps them avoid or gain. That's what prints. Step 4. Test, refine, scale. Solve the problem manually, one-on-one, for cheap, for free, for experience. Just solve it. Don't spend 6 months building a course when you haven't even helped one person yet. Don't obsess over branding when you haven't proven demand. Don't perfect the packaging when the offer hasn't been validated. The money doesn't come from polish. It comes from solving the right problem for the right person. Once it works, scale it. Automate parts of it. Train others to deliver it. Turn it into a system. Document the step, package it with pricing. Solve once, sell often. That's when you go from income to infrastructure. Let's talk about identity. Start thinking of yourself as a problem solver, not a worker, not a follower, not a title. You are someone who identifies pain, designs a solution, and gets paid for the result. That's the mindset of a builder. That's the habit of a leader. That's the calling of an entrepreneur. Even if you work a job, this matters. Solve more problems than expected. Do it faster. Do it better. And watch how doors open. Because leaders don't promote potential. They promote problem solvers. You want to be recession-proof? Learn to solve a real-world problem. Want to be laid-off proof? Be the person who removes friction. Want to 10x your rate? Deliver a result that removes risk for your clients. This is how value is measured. This is how value becomes wealth. Now, one warning. Don't let your ego chase solutions that serve you, but don't serve the market. The problem you solve has to matter to others, not just you. Don't be attached to your idea. Be attached to the outcome you deliver. Markets reward humility. They reward the people who listen, observe, adjust. You're not a genius for building a product. You're a genius for solving something people will pay to fix over and over again. You're not in the business of building things. You're in the business of removing pain. You're in the business of simplifying life. You're in the business of unlocking movement. That's what prints money. That's what builds reputation. That's what earns referrals. That's what compounds. And once you've solved one problem well, you've earned the right to scale. Add automation, add systems, add offers. But never stop listening, because markets evolve, and the best problem solvers evolve with them. They don't fall in love with their process. They fall in love with the customer's result. And that's the difference between a product and a business. So let's wrap it with this. If you're not making the money you want, there's a problem you haven't solved yet. It might be your positioning. It might be your offer. It might be your pricing. It might be your communication. It might be your mindset. Find the problem. Solve it first for yourself, then solve it for others. This world is built by problem solvers. Every product you use, every app on your phone, every solution you've ever paid for, it was built by someone who stopped complaining and started solving. That someone could be you. The world doesn't need more opinions, it needs more solutions. The world doesn't need more busy work, it needs breakthroughs. The world pays those who solve problems every time. Money does not care how you feel. It does not care if you're tired. It does not care if you're anxious, offended, or overwhelmed. Wealth is not emotional, and emotion is the enemy of wealth. This is the 7th law, because when you act on emotion, you sabotage execution. When you let feelings override principles, you burn the very structure that was meant to sustain you. If you cannot separate emotion from decision, money will never stay with you. The emotional mind makes reactive choices. The emotional mind avoids discomfort. The emotional mind chases instant gratification. But the financial mind, the builder's mind, chooses consistency, clarity, and logic. The financial mind delays gratification in service of a long-term gain. Wealth is cold, it is clean, it is rational, not heartless, but calculated. And the moment you begin to treat money like a mood, it starts to disappear. You don't save based on feelings. You don't invest based on fear. You don't price based on insecurity. You build regardless. Emotion says, buy now, you deserve it. Discipline says, hold, there's a bigger goal. Emotion says, quit, this is uncomfortable. Conviction says, this pain is part of the process. Emotion says, everyone else is doing it. Clarity says, that's not your path. The more emotionally reactive you are, the more financially fragile you become, because the world knows how to play your emotions. Ads are built to trigger your impulses. Marketing is designed to bypass your logic. Social media is engineered to make you chase validation. And if you don't build a system for emotional discipline, you'll spend a lifetime building someone else's fortune. Let's talk about spending. You never spend money for the thing itself. You spend to solve an emotion, to feel seen, to feel in control, to feel worthy, to feel entertained, respected, or relieved. Every impulse buy is emotional, and every emotional purchase compounds into a pattern that steals your future one swipe at a time. So what do? You separate emotion from money. You put space between stimulus and response. You give your financial mind the final say, not your feelings. You build habits that protect you from yourself. You automate. You set limits. You plan your spending in advance. That's not boring, that's freedom. Here's the truth. Most people don't need more money. They need more emotional regulation around money. They don't know how to sit in discomfort without trying to buy their way out. They don't know how to stay consistent without a dopamine hit. They don't know how to say no to what feels good in service of what actually serves them. That's not a money problem, that's a discipline problem. The ability to sit still while your emotions scream, that's power. The ability to stay focused while others panic, that's leverage. The ability to remain calm during chaos, that's how you protect your wealth. If your mind is ruled by reaction, your life will be ruled by consequences. Let's shift to business. You're building something. You have a product, a service, a plan, but emotions creep in. You undercharge because you fear rejection. You overdeliver because you crave validation. You quit too early because discomfort made you doubt yourself. None of those decisions were strategic. They were emotional, and they cost you. Your business doesn't need more creativity. It needs more composure, more structure, more confidence in the face of silence. If you can't stick to your pricing, your boundaries, your routine, not because the strategy was wrong, but because your emotions got loud, you will constantly reset, and resetting is expensive. Let's talk about investing. Emotion is the #1 killer of long-term growth. You panic sell, you chase hype, you get bored, you follow the crowd, but the investors who win aren't the most aggressive. They're the most disciplined. They stay the course when everyone else loses their mind. They understand that emotion is noise, that the market is irrational, but they don't have to be. They play the long game, because that's where real wealth lives. Not in the spike, not in the trend, in the boring repetition of correct behavior. Consistency over hype, principle over panic, long-term thinking over short-term relief. That's how you protect and grow capital. Now let's turn inward. Emotion isn't bad. Emotion is data, but it must be observed, not obeyed. You can't stop feeling, but you can stop outsourcing your decisions to your feelings. This means you let fear speak, but you don't let it vote. You let doubt surface, but you don't let it steer. You let insecurity show up, but you don't build around it. Your emotions can ride in the car, but they don't touch the wheel. Because emotion doesn't write great strategies. Emotion writes apologies after the damage is done. You want wealth? Make fewer emotional choices. Buy less emotion. Sell less reaction. Build systems that don't depend on how you feel. What does that look like? It looks like financial planning that happens when you're calm and gets followed even when you're not. It looks like systems that protect your money from your moods. It looks like separating identity from income so that a slow week doesn't make you spiral. It looks like detaching ego from growth so that you can keep learning even if you're not winning yet. It looks like acting based on principle, not panic, because wealth responds to structure, not to how you felt this morning, not to whether or not you felt seen on social media today, not to how much external validation you got. Wealth is boring. It's numbers, it's habits, it's leverage. So let's get practical. What can you do starting today? Track emotional spending and replace it with a pause. Don't trust your first reaction, verify it with logic. Build default rules for when you're tired, anxious, or overwhelmed, so you don't have to rely on willpower. Create calm as a business strategy. Keep cash so you're not desperate. Keep routine so you're not scattered. Keep perspective so you're not rushed. That's how you remove emotion and install endurance. Because the truth is, your feelings will change daily. Your plan should not. You will be tired. You will be tempted. You will be unsure. That's human. But your structure, your values, your vision, those remain. The goal is not to be emotionless. The goal is to be emotionally intelligent. You feel everything, but you obey only what aligns with your highest self. That's how you protect your peace. That's how you protect your assets. That's how you build wealth that doesn't rise and fall with your mood. There will always be a voice that says just this once. There will always be an urge to act out of comfort or ego. But the builder's mind pauses, breathes, remembers the vision, and moves forward with alignment, not reaction. That's the discipline. That's the difference. Emotion is expensive. Impulse is dangerous. Reactive thinking will bankrupt a great idea. So today, become unshakable, not cold, clear, not hardened, grounded. Let emotion move through you, not dictate you. Let discipline make your decisions, because emotion is the enemy of wealth, and wisdom is the architect of freedom. You've heard it before, your network is your net worth. But what most people miss is this: a network doesn't build wealth by itself. A network only builds wealth if you know how to leverage it. Being surrounded by successful people means nothing if you don't know how to offer value, if you don't know how to ask the right questions, if you're still playing small while standing next to giants. This is the eighth law. Your network is your net worth if you leverage it. Most people treat networking like social climbing, collecting names, gathering business cards, posting selfies with people they admire, but connection without value exchange is just noise. Leverage comes when your presence equals usefulness. When people remember you not for showing up, but for showing up prepared, focused, and valuable. The most powerful network in the world will ignore you. If all you bring to the table is need, people don't connect with desperation. They connect with clarity, with energy, with aligned momentum. If your entire strategy is "I know a guy," you don't have a network. You have a directory, and a directory doesn't change your life, but leverage does. So what is leverage in a network? It's when someone says your name in rooms you've never entered. It's when a single introduction saves you 3 years of struggle. It's when one conversation shifts the direction of your entire business. That's not luck. That's leverage. That's relational equity, and you don't build it by accident. You build it by showing up with intention. You show up to give, not just to get. You ask better questions. You offer better thinking. You make other people's lives lighter, sharper, easy, and over time, you become someone people want in the room. Not out of favor, but out of respect. There's a hard truth here. Proximity is not leverage. Access is not advantage. Opportunity means nothing if you can't convert it into outcomes. You've seen people with rich friends still broke. You've seen people who know everyone still spinning in circles. Why? Because relationships without contribution create imbalance. And imbalance never compounds, it dissolves. So how do you turn your network into net worth? Step 1. Audit who you're connected to. Who are the top 5 people you speak to most? Do they build? Do they challenge you? Do they invest? Do they operate with clarity and control? Or do they distract you, drain you, enable you? Your future is shaped by their habits. Their beliefs will become yours. Their ceilings will limit you or break you through. Step 2. Upgrade the room by upgrading your value. Stop begging to be in better rooms. Start earning your place in them. People don't invite liabilities. They invite assets. So ask, what do I bring to a conversation? Do I elevate people's thinking? Do I connect dots that others don't see? Am I resourceful, Am I trustworthy? These questions are your foundation, because your skill set becomes your invitation, and your character becomes your currency. Step 3. Lead with value, not vanity. Don't try to impress. Try to be useful. If you meet someone doing powerful things, don't ask, "Can I pick your brain?" That's a withdrawal. Instead, ask, "What's the biggest challenge in your space right now?" That's a deposit. You listen, you learn, you think, you respond with something practical. You earn the second conversation, not assume it. That's how trust is built. Step 4. Document your value publicly. Leverage isn't just built behind the scenes, it's built in public. The more you share your thinking, the more people begin to understand what you're about. They hear your voice before they meet you. They trust your direction before you're in the same room. You don't need to go viral. You need to go valuable. You need to be consistent. You need to make people think, "Whoever this is, I want to know them." That's positioning. That's digital leverage. You can be in thousands of rooms without physically going anywhere. That's what your content can do for you if you treat it like a bridge, not a billboard. Step 5. Protect your network like an asset. You don't burn it. You don't abuse it. You don't milk it. You grow it with respect. You follow up. You don't disappear after the win. You make introductions without being asked. You create value without being begged. You build relationship equity like you build wealth, with intention, patience, and compound investment. The richest people in the world, they don't have the biggest networks. They have the most intentional ones. Small rooms, smart minds, fast moves. And when they need something, the right person answers the first call. That's not coincidence, that's leverage. That's years of giving before asking. Now, if you don't feel connected yet, good, because now you can be strategic. You don't need to meet everyone. You need to meet the right people. And to meet the right people, you become the right person. You sharpen your skill. You clarify your message. You solve real problems. You stay consistent. And slowly, the right people start finding you. You don't need to chase status. You need to build value. Because value builds rooms, and rooms build wealth. And when you enter those rooms, remember, it's not about what you know. It's about what you share, how you listen, how you help, how you carry yourself with humility and excellence. That's what people remember. Let's talk about social proof. You don't need millions of followers to build connection. You need a signal, something that says, "I do this, I help these people, I solve this kind of problem." Make it easy for people to refer you. Make it easy for people to understand your value. Make it easy for the room to open when your name is mentioned. That's clarity. And clarity invites connection. Confused people don't get invited back. Scattered energy doesn't inspire trust. Be specific. Be consistent. Be useful. That's how your network becomes your net worth in real numbers, not just in theory. Finally, understand this. No relationship pays you directly. It pays you through what you build inside the relationship. One conversation can change your strategy. One introduction can collapse time. One referral can fund your next stage. But none of that happens if you treat connection like currency. You treat it like stewardship. You don't hoard, you circulate, you uplift, you play the long game. You don't extract, you expand. You don't chase, you contribute. You don't manipulate, you magnify. That's what real networking looks like. That's what relational wealth feels like. It's not how many people you know, it's how many people trust what you bring. Your network is your net worth, but only if you leverage it. And leverage only exists when you lead with value, when you treat relationships like partnerships, not pipelines. When you give more than you ask, when you show up ready, when you stay consistent, when you outgrow small talk and get to real work. This isn't about who you know. This is about who knows you and what they associate your name with. So make it count. Poor thinking needs to be heard. It needs to prove something. It needs applause, because without it, it feels invisible, and that's the most dangerous kind of poor, the one that speaks before it thinks. Rich thinking, it doesn't need to shout, it's too busy working. This is the 9th law. Poor thinking is loud. Rich thinking is quiet. And if you want to understand money, truly understand how it behaves, how it flows, and how it compounds, You first have to study how people think about it, not what they say, but how they approach problems, how they make decisions, how they respond under pressure, how they value time over attention, how they move in silence while others scream for validation. Loud thinking is reactive. It's always trying to win the argument. It's obsessed with being right instead of being effective. It spends hours trying to prove a point instead of quietly building a solution. Loud thinkers blame, they gossip, they demand, they explain over and over why they deserve more, while doing less. Quiet thinkers take notes, they study, they observe, they ask better questions, and wait for the answers. They don't post every move. They don't need to, because they know where they're going. And when you're clear about where you're going, you don't need to broadcast every step. Here's the irony. The poorest minds often have the loudest opinions about wealth. They'll tell you what's fair, what's greedy, what you should do with your money, and they have none. But that's the trap. Loud minds are obsessed with moralizing money. Quiet minds are obsessed with mastering it. Poor thinking talks endlessly about problems. Rich thinking looks for systems. Poor thinking reacts emotionally. Rich thinking waits until the data is clear. Poor thinking asks, why me? Rich thinking asks, what's next? Poor thinking posts. Rich thinking plans. Poor thinking brags about potential. Rich thinking builds results. Why is this important? Because the volume of your mind determines the velocity of your money. If you're always explaining, always justifying, always defending, you're not growing, you're performing. And performing keeps you broke. You need to get quiet enough to listen, to hear what the market is telling you, to hear what your habits are saying, to hear the difference between emotional noise and financial signal. But most people never get there, because the noise inside their own head is louder than the world outside. They don't need more information. They need silence, focus, self-control. Let's break this down even further. Loud thinkers want to look successful. They buy cars they can't afford. They post lifestyles they don't live. They spend money on validation, not value. Quiet thinkers want to be successful. They buy back their time. They invest in skill. They spend behind the scenes. They care more about the spreadsheet than the spotlight. Loud thinkers chase impressions. Quiet thinkers chase impact. Loud thinkers say, I deserve more. Quiet thinkers ask, how can I deliver more? Loud thinkers hate being wrong. Quiet thinkers love learning. This isn't about personality. It's about mindset. It's about the internal operating system you run your life on. And if yours is too loud, you'll miss everything worth hearing. Let's talk about business. Loud entrepreneurs launch big, flash, loud, flame out. They need hype to survive. Their brand is louder than their margin. Their identity is built on attention, not execution. Quiet entrepreneurs, they launch quietly, scale consistently, and show up every day. They make boring things profitable. They optimize operations. They care about systems, not applause. The quiet builders are the ones who last, because their ego isn't in the way. They don't need a crowd to keep going. They don't need to be praised to stay disciplined. They don't need noise to feel powerful. They know money flows where attention is directed, not where it is scattered. This applies to investing too. Loud investors chase trends. They buy what's hot. They panic when it drops. They brag when it spikes. They sell too soon. They lose quietly after talking loudly. Quiet investors, they study cycles. They buy value. They ignore hype. They think in decades, not days. They don't need to post every win, because they're playing a bigger game. The more noise there is around a trade, the less likely it is to be profitable. The more crowded a mindset becomes, the harder it is to think independently. That's why silence is your asset. Quiet is your edge. Stillness is your advantage. Because in the quiet, you can think clearly, and clarity is what makes wealth compound. Let's go deeper. A loud mind is always comparing. It watches others. It doubts itself. It shifts its plan every time someone else posts a win. A quiet mind moves in alignment. It knows its own strategy. It honors its own timing. It doesn't compete. It executes. Comparison is noise. Clarity is profit. If you're busy watching everyone else's path, you will abandon your own. And every time you switch lanes out of insecurity, you lose momentum. Momentum is what builds wealth, not just effort, not just ideas. Momentum is only possible when you protect your focus, which means quiet. So how do you quiet your thinking? You slow down. You stop reacting to everything. You remove your ego from every decision. You ask, does this move me forward? Instead of, does this make me feel good? You journal. You reflect. You take time to think before you act. You stop seeking validation for things that don't serve your vision. That silence you avoid, that's where wealth lives. It's in the boring habits, the quiet mornings, the deliberate execution, the slow burn of discipline. Loud money burns fast. Quiet money compounds. And if you can't sit still, if you can't think clearly, if you need noise to feel alive, you will always trade real wealth for temporary excitement. Here's the harsh truth. Loud thinkers are usually broke, not because they're dumb, but because they're distracted. They can't finish what they start. They don't know how to delay gratification. They let emotions drive decisions. They can't sit through silence, so they fill it with spending. But the wealthiest minds, they're quiet enough to stay the course, to ignore the panic, to keep building. They don't chase excitement. They build stability. They don't chase attention. They create assets. And while everyone else is shouting about the next big thing, they're quietly cashing in on the last big decision they made years ago. That's the game. So what can you do? You build a quieter mind. You eliminate noise. You stop explaining. You get focused on execution. You stop reacting to everything that doesn't move you forward. You ignore debates that don't pay you. You protect your thoughts from the volume of the world. That's not isolation. That's design. You curate who you listen to. You shrink your information diet. You master stillness, not as weakness, but as weapon. Because a quiet thinker sees more, plans better, moves smarter, wins longer. That's what this chapter is about. In a world addicted to noise, be the signal. Be the one who doesn't flinch. Be the one who doesn't panic. Be the one who doesn't need to explain. The money will find you. Because money follows focus. Money follows clarity. Money follows systems. But never forget, money never follows noise. In the game of money, most people are playing not to lose. They're cautious. They're conservative. They avoid risk like it's a disease. And that's why they stay poor. Rich people, they play to win. They're on a fence, always. This is the 10th law. Rich people play offense. Poor people play defense. Offense creates wealth. Defense preserves what little you have. Offense builds systems. Defense clings to safety. Offense says, how do I multiply? Defense says, how do I not lose? And those mindsets lead to two completely different lives. Think about the way most people handle their finances. They cut back. They budget. They stress about bills. They shrink their life to fit their income. That's defense. It's survival mode. It's the belief that there's not enough, so the only option is to protect what little you've got. But the problem with defense is this. There's a ceiling to how much you can save. You can't shrink your way into wealth. You can't budget your way into freedom. Eventually you run out of things to cut. You run out of places to hide. And all you're left with is less. Rich people think differently. They ask, how can I create more value? They ask, what can I build? They don't fear investment. They fear stagnation. They don't obsess over losing $100. They're busy building something worth $100,000. Offense is about growth. It's about expansion. It's about solving real problems. At scale, offense sees opportunity where others see risk. Offense plays the long game. Offense builds assets that work harder than you ever could. The biggest difference? Poor people chase security. Rich people chase leverage. And leverage only comes when you're on offense. When you're not afraid to move. When you trust yourself to make strategic bets. When you stop thinking like a consumer and start acting like a producer. Look around. Most people are just reacting. The market drops, they panic. A bill arrives, they scramble. Their job changes, they shrink back. They're always in defense mode. But the people building real wealth, they're 10 steps ahead. Because they're not just surviving, they're playing to control the game. Now let's make this practical. What does playing offense actually look like? It means you invest in skills that make you irreplaceable. You build systems that generate income, even when you're sleeping. You build relationships with people who elevate your thinking. You create content, products, businesses, not just expenses. It means you stop being scared of risk and start learning how to manage it. It means you stop asking what if it fails and start asking what if it works. Because offense is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is where power is forged. Defense is safe, but safety never builds legacy. You see, poor thinking sees money as something to lose. Rich thinking sees money as something to deploy. The poor mindset hoards. The rich mindset invests. The poor mindset is afraid of taxes. The rich mindset hires experts. The poor mindset plays not to fall. The rich mindset plays to rise. When you're playing defense, everything feels risky. When you're playing offense, everything is a calculation. And that's the shift. Wealth is not built by avoiding loss. It's built by seeking opportunity with precision, not fear. Let's talk about time. The defensive player says, I don't have enough. The offensive player says, how do I multiply it? One binge watches, one delegates, one waits, one acts. Same 24 hours, different outcome. Defense protects your time from discomfort. Offense uses discomfort to increase your time's value. If you want to get rich, your calendar has to go on offense before your bank account ever will. Think about how the wealthy build. They invest before the returns are obvious. They hire before they're drowning. They build while others hesitate. They position themselves while others procrastinate. They don't wait to feel ready. They make ready happen. Meanwhile, the defensive mind waits for the right time, waits for certainty, waits for permission. But while they're waiting, the world keeps spinning. The opportunities keep moving. The players keep winning. Now let's get brutally honest. If you're always worried about the worst-case scenario, you'll never make room for the best case. If you're always looking for guarantees, you'll always live below your potential. If your entire mindset is rooted in fear, then your decisions will be rooted in limitation. And there is no version of wealth that's built on limitation. Playing offense doesn't mean recklessness. It means you move with intent. You study the game, you find angles, you run plays, and you do it over and over again until the outcome is no longer in question. Here's a secret. The richest people are often the most aggressive learners. They don't wait for a classroom. They don't wait for approval. They learn in real time. By doing, by testing, by failing forward. That's offense. Defense avoids mistakes. Offense absorbs lessons. Defense wants to look smart. Offense wants to get smart. Defense fears feedback. Offense seeks feedback. You cannot grow if you're hiding behind a shell of perfectionism. You grow by stepping into the arena. Let's bring it back to money. When was the last time you played offense with your finances? Not just saving, not just budgeting, but building. Did you launch that idea? Did you offer that service? Did you test that business model? Did you invest in something beyond your comfort zone? Or did you play it safe again? Every dollar you don't deploy is a soldier that's sitting idle. And idle soldiers don't win wars. Your money must move. Your skill must grow. Your time must compound. That's offense. That's how wealth expands. Now some will say, but I don't want to lose everything. And that's fair. But here's the deeper truth. If you only ever play defense, you're already losing. Slowly, quietly, without noticing. Because time is passing, opportunities are being missed, and inflation doesn't care about your fear. The cost of inaction is invisible, but deadly. Playing offense is how you turn the tide. You learn the game. You show up early. You build. You repeat. And in that process, you grow into the person who doesn't need to be rescued. You become the one who writes the rules, not just follows them. This is the call to arms. Stop waiting. Start playing to win. Stop defending your limitations. Start designing your next level. Stop hoping for luck. Start creating leverage. That's what rich people do. They don't sit around analyzing failure. They move forward so fast, failure can't keep up. They know that in every market, someone is getting richer. They've decided that someone might as well be them. So they study the terrain. They launch the product. They raise the capital. They take the meeting. They close the deal. And they do it over and over again. That's a fence. That's wealth. So now you ask yourself, am I hiding behind budgeting? Am I obsessing over loss while missing growth? Am I reacting or am I building? If the answer feels uncomfortable, good. That's your signal. That's your leverage point. That's where the next chapter of your financial life begins. And it doesn't begin with playing it safe. It begins with moving forward, strategically, boldly, unapologetically. Offense is the mindset of every wealthy builder, not recklessness, not gambling, but precision, clarity, and action. That's how you build wealth in any economy. You look at your bank account and feel behind. You scroll through social media and wonder if you missed your chance. Everyone seems further ahead. Everyone seems to be winning, except you. But here's the truth, nobody tells you. You're not broke, you're just early. The beginning of wealth is not in your wallet, it's in your mind. You don't start rich. You start with the belief that it's possible. You start when you realize that nobody hands you the future, you build it. You build it with time, with focus, with discipline, and with the relentless courage to be early, even when nobody claps. People love to celebrate the end result, the headline, the win, but they don't show you the 3 a.m. doubts. They don't show you the skipped parties. They don't show you the years of silence, where nothing made sense and nobody believed in you. They don't show you the season you're in now. You're in the season of planting, and planting is lonely. It's invisible. It's the part nobody talks about because it doesn't look impressive. But every fortune starts with a season like this. It's the time when you're broke on paper but rich in process. It's the time when you're building skill, not flash. It's the time when you're buying books, not bags. The world might call you broke, but in truth, you're investing. And investing always feels slow in the beginning. It feels uncertain. It feels like sacrifice. But later, those same choices become your leverage. This is why you need to protect your mindset more than your money. Because your mindset is the asset that comes before all others. You're not broke, you're pre-success. And success is always invisible before it becomes obvious. Nobody can see it in you yet. That's okay. That's how it's supposed to feel. Your job is not to prove anything. Your job is to keep building, to wake up and outwork the doubt, to trust that every hard day is buying you a better future, to remind yourself that being early is the highest form of faith. Faith that what you're doing matters. Faith that what you're building will pay off. Faith that your time is coming even if it's not today. So what do you do when you feel broke? You zoom out. You stop measuring your life by the scoreboard of today. You start tracking effort instead of income, habits instead of hype, discipline instead of dollars. You realize that wealth is a lagging indicator of smart behavior. It shows up after the work is done, never before. Poor thinkers wait for the money to feel rich. Smart thinkers build the mindset to become it. They don't chase the result. They build the routine. They don't focus on the number. They focus on the direction. That's how you go from early to unstoppable. You see, broke is not a financial condition. It's a mental one. It's a mindset that says this is all I'll ever be. It's a belief that your current situation defines your permanent identity, but it doesn't. You are not your paycheck. You are not your current balance. You are the builder of what comes next. So stop saying I'm broke. Stop repeating it like a curse. Start saying I'm building. Start saying I'm early. Because when you change that script, you change your strategy. And when your strategy shifts, your whole life follows. There's a reason why most people give up too soon. They confuse the silence for failure. But silence is not failure. Silence is space. It's the space between planting and harvest. It's where the real work happens. It's where you sharpen your edge. It's where you develop the mindset to handle what's coming. If you rush the process, you ruin the payoff. If you skip the season of being early, you miss the depth that real success requires. Every millionaire you admire, they were broke once. Every investor you quote, they were confused once. Every builder you follow, they were doubted once. The only difference is they didn't stop. They didn't treat the beginning like the end. They didn't label themselves as failures just because the balance sheet was low. They understood this law. Money comes to those who outlast the doubt. And right now, that's your only job. Outlast the doubt. Outlast the fear. Outlast the opinions. Outlast the temptation to quit before the miracle happens. You are not broke. You're in the part of the story that makes the ending legendary. Own it. So what should you do today? Start stacking proof. Make the cold call. Study the skill. Launch the idea. Build the offer. Hit the workout. Write the plan. Do it broke. Do it tired. Do it unsure. Just don't wait to feel ready. Nobody feels ready in the beginning. They just start. And the ones who start early, messy, invisible, are the ones who rise. Because by the time the world notices them, they've already become too consistent to ignore. That's your goal. Consistency. Quiet consistency. Early consistency. So breathe. This isn't the end. This is the build-up. This is the character development arc. This is the chapter the world skips over when they talk about overnight success. But you won't skip it, you'll live it, and you'll respect it. Because being early doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're brave. It means you're the one willing to begin when it's not cool yet. It means you're the one who plants seeds while everyone else is still scrolling. You are not broke. You're early, and early beats late every single time. Now let's get practical. Being early doesn't mean you wait around. It means you prepare like your life depends on it. Because it does. The way you speak to yourself matters. The way you use your time matters. The way you manage your energy matters. If you want to prove you're not broke, stop wasting time like it's worthless. Every hour you spend building skill adds to your net worth, whether the world pays you yet or not. Every book you read rewires your brain for wealth. Every sacrifice you make compounds. This is what people don't understand. The scoreboard always lags behind the season of preparation. You're not behind, you're just not cashed out yet. The world rewards finishers, yes, but it remembers builders even more. It remembers who started when it was hard, who stayed when it was quiet, who didn't fold when everyone else did. The early builder gets the foundation, and foundations create empires. You don't get wealthy by mimicking people at the top. You get wealthy by doing what they did before anyone watched. They were early too, and they stayed. They built when it was boring. They learned when there were no likes. They moved before they were validated. This is your season to do the same. Stop trying to look rich. Start aiming to never feel poor again. Because real wealth doesn't scream. It stacks. It stacks habits. It stacks knowledge. It stacks execution. Most people fail because they keep starting over. You're going to keep going. You're not broke. You're stacking. You're early. You're aligning. And the only thing standing between you and everything you want is how long you're willing to keep going without applause. Let that sink in. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to justify the season you're in. You just have to honor it. Honor your discipline. Honor your hunger. Honor your progress, even when it's invisible. Because the only thing that separates a broke person from a wealthy one is how they respond to being broke. Some shrink, some stall, some spin stories about why it's impossible. But the builders, they use it as fuel. They say, I won't stay here, and they move. That's the difference. You don't need to be lucky. You need to be consistent. You don't need 10 opportunities. You need one that you go all in on. You don't need to be the most talented. You just need to be the most committed. Commitment will carry you through the dry seasons. It will keep you from panicking when things feel slow. Because you'll remember, you're not broke. You're early, and being early is a test. A test of belief. A test of endurance. A test of vision. Pass the test, and you change your future forever. So here's how you end this chapter of your life. You don't run, you don't complain, you don't shrink, you double down, you go harder, you move smarter, you wake up earlier, you tune out noise, you cut distractions, you learn everything you can about the game you're playing, and then you play it like your last name depends on it. Because soon, people will look at you and say, "You're so lucky. You came out of nowhere. You changed so fast." They won't know how early you started, how long you built in silence, how many days you wanted to quit but didn't. They'll only see the result. And that's fine, because you'll know. You'll know you earned it, that you stayed the course when everyone else bailed, that you turned your broke season into a battleground and won. This is not a fairy tale. This is a financial awakening. It's the day you stop living like a victim and start building like an owner. It's the day you stop saying maybe one day and start saying this is day one. From now on, you don't say I'm broke. You say I'm early, I'm learning, I'm building, I'm next, because that's exactly what you are. You are next. Remember this, you don't need a better past. You need a better future, and that future is built by what you do now while nobody's watching. Don't wait to feel qualified. Don't wait for a green light. You are the permission. You are the answer. You are the investment. Everything worth having takes longer than you want, but when it arrives, it stays longer than you dreamed. This is not the season of lack. This is the season of leverage. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not out of time. You're early. You're built, and soon enough, the world will know your name. But for now, let it be your secret, your mission, your edge. Stack the days. Sharpen the skill. Respect the season. Because one day, everything you prayed for will show up, and it'll feel earned. That's the real wealth. And that, right there, is how wealth begins. They sold you the dream. Make money while you sleep. Build a life of luxury from your laptop. Do nothing and somehow get everything. It's seductive. It's everywhere. And it's misleading, at least at first. Because here's the raw, unfiltered truth. Passive income is not a starting point. It's an end game. And anyone who tells you otherwise is either selling something or skipping the hard part. Before you ever earn $1 in your sleep, you will lose sleep building the machine. You will work longer hours than most. You will stress over details that others ignore. You will spend weekends studying systems, not sipping cocktails, because the first truth of passive income is this. It's built on top of active, relentless, uncomfortable work. Work that's invisible. Work that's unpaid. Work that nobody claps for. That's the part they don't advertise. And here's why that matters. Too many people fail not because they're lazy, but because they expected ease before they earned it. They were told it should be fast. They were promised it would be simple. So when it got hard, they assumed they were doing it wrong, but they weren't. They were just in the building phase, and the building phase is brutal. You won't have balance. You won't have comfort. You won't have instant validation. You'll have spreadsheets, setbacks, and self-doubt. You'll have 3 a.m. questions with no clear answers. You'll have trial after trial with no payout. But you will also have something else. Momentum. And momentum is what turns work into wealth if you don't quit. Let's get one thing straight. Passive income is real, but it's never truly passive, not at first. Someone had to write that book. Someone had to design that course. Someone had to record that podcast, build that product, or code that tool. Someone put in months or years of energy before $1 arrived. So the game is not to avoid work. The game is to front-load it, to suffer smart, to build the asset, to pay the price once so you don't have to pay it forever. That's the mindset shift nobody teaches. And the people who get rich from passive income, they aren't sipping drinks all day on beaches. They're analyzing, optimizing, tweaking, studying the data, monitoring the feedback. They've replaced labor with leverage, but they're still engaged, because if you walk away too early, your passive income stops being passive and starts disappearing. Nothing stays automated without attention. Nothing stays optimized without effort. So if you want that dream life, you better be ready to earn it twice. Once in effort, and again in consistency. Now here's the most important part. You can build passive income. You can escape the cycle. You can create systems that set you free. But you can't skip the sweat. Anyone promising shortcuts is selling shackles. They want your money, not your freedom. Freedom only comes when you own your time. And ownership requires creation. And creation requires work, not forever, but long enough to matter. That's how it starts. Let's break it down. There are two kinds of income in this world: linear and leverage. Linear income is where most people live. You trade time for money. You clock in, you get paid. You stop, the money stops too. But leveraged income is different. It doesn't scale with hours. It scales with systems. A system is anything that works when you're not watching. It could be a digital product, a rental property, a YouTube channel, a licensing deal, affiliate commissions, but make no mistake, none of it works unless you do. You must build the system before it serves you. And in the beginning, the system will feel like a second job. It's easier to just work for someone else. It's safer to stay inside the hourly paycheck. But if you want financial independence, you must escape the cycle. You must graduate from labor to leverage. And leverage only comes when you master patience. Most people won't. They want the win too soon. They want the money without the mechanism. But this is why the few succeed, because they stay in the game longer, because they tolerate the silence better, because they understand this truth. Every passive income stream begins as an unpaid internship with yourself. You're the intern, you're the boss, you're the accountant, you're the marketer. You're wearing every hat until the system can wear it for you. So here's what it really looks like. You stay up late learning copywriting while your friends watch Netflix. You post content for 30 days straight and get 5 views. You release a product, make 0 sales and rebuild it again. You get ignored. You get doubted. You get tired. But if you keep showing up, something starts to change. Your writing improves, your offers get better, your message gets sharper, and the world starts paying attention. Not because you're lucky, but because you didn't quit. You stayed in long enough for the market to notice. That's the unlock. Here's another myth that needs to die. You don't need 10 income streams. You need one that works. Start with one. One product, one platform, one funnel, one audience. Master it. Too many people fail because they chase complexity before they master simplicity. They want to automate a system they haven't even proven yet. Don't be that person. Build something that earns $1 before you try to make it earn $10,000. Because when something works at a small scale, you can always scale it. But if it doesn't work at $100, it won't work at $1,000. Test small, tweak fast, think long. That's how passive income becomes real income. And once it works, don't celebrate too early. Maintain it, refine it, improve it. Because money is not loyal to the lazy. It flows to those who keep earning it, even when the checks come automatically. Passive income is not about disappearance. It's about delegation. And if you're not ready to manage what you built, you'll lose it faster than you earned it. You want freedom? Then act like it matters. Treat your evenings like investments. Treat your mornings like missions. Treat your side project like your real job. Because one day, it will be. Cut distractions. Track results. Improve everything. Don't post for likes. Post to learn. Don't build for applause. Build for results. And when you do it right, the day comes. The day you wake up to sales you didn't chase. The day your content earns while you rest. The day your system works while you work out. The day you breathe deeper because you bought back your time. It's not a dream, it's design. It's not luck, it's leverage. It's not passive in the beginning, but eventually, it becomes inevitable. Passive income is a reward for those who outwork their old identity. It's the return on years of invisible effort. It's the byproduct of service, not selfishness. It's the proof that value compounds. You don't just want money while you sleep. You want meaning while you live. You want time that's yours again. You want choices, and that starts now. So log off the fantasy. Log into the grind. Pick one thing. Make it matter. Make it real. Make it better every single week. Forget easy money. Build undeniable value. Because that is the kind of income that doesn't fade. That is the kind of system that stands the test of time. That is the kind of wealth that sleeps while you do. You're not here to stay busy. You're here to build. You're not here to wish. You're here to busy. You're not here to chase fake freedom. You're here to create real freedom. And it's possible. It's earned, and it's coming. Just don't forget, passive income is a lie until it's not. Here's a question that will change your life. What's the real reason you want money? Not the surface answer, not the status, not the shiny things. The real reason. For most people, it comes down to one thing: time. Time to think, time to rest, time to build, time to be with the people you love without checking the clock, without asking for permission, without calculating if you can afford it. Money is not the prize, time is, and money, when used well, is just the tool that buys it. That's the shift nobody teaches. You're told to chase money, hustle for it, grind for it, kill yourself just to stack numbers in a bank account. But here's the truth most people miss. Money is only power when it protects your time. If it owns you, it's a prison. If you use it with purpose, it's freedom. So let's be clear, the rich aren't different because they buy more things. They're different because they buy back hours. They buy peace. They buy clarity. They buy space to make better decisions. Money buys options. Options buy better outcomes. Better outcomes buy a life that feels like yours again. Let's get practical. You work a job. You earn a paycheck. That paycheck disappears into bills, obligations, and distractions. Maybe you treat yourself. Maybe you save a little. But most of it, gone. Now imagine this. Instead of thinking, how can I afford this? You ask, does this give me more time or take it away? That one question can change everything. Because the real flex is not spending. It's owning your schedule. It's choosing how your days go. And money used wisely buys back your calendar. That means outsourcing what drains you. That means hiring help before burnout hits. That means investing in tools, people, systems that stretch your time. It doesn't mean luxury. It means leverage. Here's what they never tell you. Every dollar you spend either buys time or burns it. You buy cheap, it breaks. You fix it again. You say yes to too much, you drown in commitments. You chase convenience. You pay for it with your future. But if you flip the script, if you use money as a weapon to protect your hours, everything shifts. Hire someone to clean so you can think. Buy the software that saves you 5 hours a week. Order meals for the week and spend the time learning something that moves your income. That's how rich people think. They don't just buy things, they buy time multipliers. Because they know money returns. Time doesn't. Let's go deeper. You want more time? Then track where it goes. Most people aren't broken dollars. They're broken minutes. Scrolling, complaining, overcommitting, reacting to everyone else's urgency. They let the world steal their hours and then wonder why nothing changes. You can't manage your life if you don't audit your time. Here's an exercise that will punch you in the face. Track your time for 3 days. Write down every hour. Label it. Create. Consume. Waste. Then look at the patterns. If you're consuming more than you're creating, you're not in control. You're in debt. Not financial debt. Time debt. And time debt compounds faster than interest. So the first thing money should do before it buys anything else is fix that equation. Use it to escape time debt. Use it to remove tasks that don't move the needle. Use it to automate, delegate, eliminate. Because your job isn't to do more, it's to do what matters. This is the invisible work of high performers. They guard their time like it's treasure. They don't say yes to everything. They don't take meetings without a point. They don't respond instantly unless it's... They've learned this truth. If you don't respect your time, nobody else will. And once you're clear on that, you stop being busy and you start being powerful. So how do you apply this? First, cut what doesn't serve your future. Subscriptions you forgot, routines that waste hours, people who pull you off path. Second, build filters. If it doesn't align with your goals, it doesn't get your time. Third, invest your money where it buys back time. Courses that collapse learning curves, assistants that remove friction, apps that automate the boring stuff. This is how wealth grows quietly, not through flashy spending, but strategic subtraction. The fewer low-value tasks you touch, the more room you have for high-value decisions. And those decisions, that's where fortunes are made. Let's talk about the long game. You want to retire early? Then treat time like compound interest. Invest small amounts today and let them multiply. Write for an hour instead of watching TV. Record content instead of overthinking it. Make that cold call instead of waiting to feel ready. Do the thing that adds up, because those hours, they stack. And 10 years from now, they show up as time you own. Freedom is not a finish line, it's a rhythm. And every day you get to keep your hours is a win. That's why the wealthiest people you know aren't always working more. They're just working better. They've built lives around their priorities, not their obligations. And that starts with how they spend. Want proof? Look at your calendar. Look at your bank statement. They show you what you really value. If you say you want freedom but spend like a prisoner, you'll stay stuck. If you say you want wealth but give your time to drama, you're already bankrupt. Your actions must match your ambition. That means every swipe, every click, every purchase is either building freedom or renting escape. There's a difference between luxury and leverage. One fades, the other scales. Buy leverage, buy time, buy your life back. That's what Amy is really for. So where do you begin? Simple. Start asking different questions. Not, can I afford this? But does this get me more of the life I want? Not, what will people think? But will this free my energy for what matters? And not, is this expensive, but is the return worth more than the cost? That's financial maturity. That's how you stop bleeding hours. And that's how you start buying back control. This chapter isn't about being frugal. It's about being intentional. You're not here to hoard money. You're here to use it, to reclaim your hours. So spend on speed, spend on tools, spend on growth, and stop spending on approval. Final thought, you don't need millions to live rich. You just need ownership over your time. You need mornings that feel like yours, days that follow your rhythm, nights that aren't eaten by anxiety. And that comes from alignment, from spending your resources, money, time, energy, on things that bring you back to center. That's real wealth. So build with that in mind, earn to free your calendar, save to protect your peace, invest to create time abundance, because when the money buys you time, you win every day, not just someday. This was Chapter 13, Money Buys Time if you know how to spend it. It's not about the bills, it's not about the economy, it's not even about how much you earn. It's about what you do when the money shows up. You've been told you have a money problem, but that's not the full truth, because if money alone could fix your life, you wouldn't be stuck in the same patterns. You get paid, you spend, you regret, you repeat. That's not a math issue. That's a mindset issue. And until you face it, more money will only magnify the mess. Look around. People win the lottery and go broke in 3 years. Athletes make millions and file bankruptcy. Entrepreneurs earn 7 figures and still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because their behavior didn't change, their habits didn't evolve. Their identity stayed the same, even when the numbers in the account grew. More money won't save you if you still think like someone who's drowning. You don't rise to the size of your income, you fall to the level of your self-control. Here's what no one teaches. Wealth starts in your nervous system, not your bank account. If your default is stress, scarcity, survival, you will find a way to sabotage abundance. If you see money as a threat, a burden, or a sin, you'll unconsciously repel it, because behavior follows belief. And most people have broken beliefs about money. They never chose, they just absorbed. From parents, from school, from culture, from religion. Money is evil. Rich people are greedy. Wanting more makes you selfish. So what happens? You feel guilty for having it. You spend recklessly. You avoid looking at your finances. You stay broke not because you have no opportunity, but because you're programmed for scarcity. Let's break the cycle. First step, take full ownership. If your finances are messy, that's on you. Not your boss, not your bills, not your background. It's your behaviors. And that's a good thing, because behavior can change. Nobody was born with budgeting skills. Nobody came out of the womb understanding compounding interest. Nobody naturally knows how to delay gratification. But all of those are learnable, trainable, buildable. And if you're willing to rewire how you operate, you can change your entire financial destiny. Here's where to begin. Start by tracking, not just where your money goes, but how you feel when you spend it. Every swipe is emotional. Every purchase tells a story. Look at your statement. Ask yourself, was I buying freedom or was I buying escape? That's how you audit behavior. Are you spending to grow or spending to numb? Do you invest in your future or soothe the stress of your present? You can't change what you don't track, and you can't grow if you lie to yourself. Behavior change starts with brutal honesty. Then shift your language. Stop saying, I'm bad with money. Start saying, I'm learning how to lead my money. Stop saying, I'm broke. Start saying, I'm building. Your brain listens to your words. So speak like someone who's in control, even before you fully are. Because identity drives action, and actions done consistently create outcomes. The goal is not perfection, it's awareness, it's integrity, it's growth. And it begins the moment you stop blaming your income and start examining your impulses. Let's talk about behaviors that keep people stuck. First, emotional spending. You feel bored, you buy. You feel sad, you splurge. You feel stressed, you swipe. It feels good for a second, but it buries you deeper, long term. You must separate feelings from finances, not by ignoring emotions, but by learning healthier ways to regulate. Journal instead of scrolling Amazon. Walk instead of driving to the mall. Call someone instead of tapping add to cart. The urge will still show up, but you'll stop feeding it with financial sabotage. That's how emotional maturity translates to financial stability. Next, impulse spending. If it's not in the plan, it doesn't get a swipe. Build a 24-hour rule. See something you want, wait a day. If you still want it, plan for it. If not, you just saved yourself from regret. This one discipline can save you thousands. And it's not about deprivation. It's about control. You're in charge, not your cravings. Your future self is begging you, stop reacting, start deciding. Because the more you act on impulse, the more your life gets hijacked by short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term freedom. Another common trap, lifestyle creep. You get a raise, you upgrade your apartment, you get a bonus, you book a trip, you get a tax refund, you go shopping, and you wonder why nothing's changing. Because every time your income grows, your expenses sprint right behind it. You're not wealthier, you're just spending louder. To escape that loop, you need one rule. When income increases, your lifestyle stays the same for a while. The gap between what you earn and what you spend, that's where freedom is born. It's boring, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. Want to go deeper? Look at your patterns. Do you self-sabotage when things are going well? Do you blow money after making progress? Do you punish yourself with deprivation, then binge with regret? These aren't just habits, they're responses to deeper programming. Most people use money to regulate their self-worth. They spend to feel enough, or they hoard to feel safe, or they give it all away because they fear being seen as selfish. Until you heal the story you carry around money, you will keep repeating it. And the story isn't facts, it's feelings, it's wounds, it's echoes of childhood, family, fear. You must rewrite that narrative. Because if you don't, you'll live your whole life repeating behaviors that were never truly yours. Here's how you break free. 1. Get curious. Not judgmental, not shameful, just curious. Why do I do that? Where did I learn that? What am I really trying to fix when I buy that thing? 2. Create new anchors. When you feel triggered to spend, pause, breathe, move, redirect. Replace the old loop with something better. You don't need a new app. you need new wiring. Because the problem isn't your wallet, it's the habits wrapped around it. And the good news, habits are built, which means they can be rebuilt. Final thought, you're not broken, you're not doomed, you're not bad with money. You're just early. You're just untrained. You're just in the process. And the people who win with money, they don't just earn more. They behave better. They delay. They track. They question. They grow. They plan. They forgive. They reset. And they do it over and over until the behavior becomes the identity. You are not a victim of your past. You are the architect of your future. So take the wheel, look in the mirror, and ask yourself, what behavior am I willing to change so that money becomes a tool, not a trap? The answer to that question might be the most valuable thing you'll ever own. The difference isn't luck. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. It's time perspective. The poor think about this week. The middle class thinks about this month. The rich, they think about decades. That's the gap. That's the hidden advantage. That's the truth nobody tells you. Because long-term thinking changes everything. Look around. Most people are addicted to now. They want the body without the workouts. They want the income without the grind. They want the success without the patience. They scroll for dopamine. They buy for validation. They quit when results don't show up in a week. They live in short-term loops, endless cycles of reaction, emotion, and impulse. And then they wonder why they're stuck. But the rich, they play a different game. They're not looking for Friday's paycheck. They're building for 10 years from now. They plant seeds that take time. They build foundations instead of shortcuts. They understand that growth is slow until it's sudden. That's not magic. That's vision. Let's get clear. Short-term thinking creates long-term problems. Overspend today, go broke tomorrow. Skip the gym today, pay with health later. Avoid hard conversations today, live in conflict for years. Every shortcut taken now builds a detour later. But long-term thinking, it creates freedom. It creates momentum. It compounds into something unstoppable. Because time is a multiplier. And when you align your actions with your future, instead of your feelings, you build power. Not instantly, but inevitably. Let's talk about money. Poor thinkers ask, how much can I make today? Rich thinkers ask, how can I build something that pays me for life? That's why one sells hours. The other builds assets. That's why one panics during downturns. The other sees opportunity. That's why one lives in stress. The other lives in strategy. When you think in decades, you stop making emotional decisions. You stop chasing approval. You stop worrying about this month's numbers and start focusing on systems, scalability, sustainability, because you know a slow gain now can lead to exponential results later. This is how wealth is built, not by flipping coins, but by planting trees. You invest, you wait, you nurture, you ignore the noise, you trust the math, and then, one day, it pays you forever. Most people don't fail from a lack of opportunity. They fail from a lack of patience. They kill good ideas too early. They stop showing up because it's slow. They let short-term emotions ruin long-term potential. But the ones who win, they see the long arc. They know, if I stay consistent for years, the world will bend to my discipline. Want to change your future? Shift your time horizon. Start asking, what will this decision look like in 5 years? What if I doubled down for a decade instead of a week? What would I build if I wasn't in a rush? That one mindset shift can save you decades of regret. Let's go deeper. Think about fitness. You eat one salad, nothing changes. You go to the gym once, no six-pack. But do it for a year. You don't even recognize yourself. Now apply that to your finances, your learning, your mindset, your relationships. One book won't change your life, but reading for 20 minutes every day for 5 years, that will. The rich build in silence. They endure the seasons. They understand that rewards come to those who wait the longest without giving up. They know the beginning is slow, the middle is messy, but the end is exponential. That's the compound effect. That's leverage. That's time working for you because you respected it. But here's the trap. Modern life is built to break your time muscle. Instant delivery, instant likes, instant information, instant outrage. Everything is now, now, now. So of course people struggle to wait. Of course people give up early. They've been trained to treat patience as pain instead of seeing it as power. So how do you train yourself to think in decades? Start with a 10-year question. Ask yourself, if I repeated what I did this week for the next 10 years, where would I end up? Would you be stronger, richer, calmer, healthier, or more stuck? That question reveals everything. Because most people live in daily escape. They survive Mondays, coast through Fridays, hope weekends heal the wounds, but those days add up, and they compound into years of lost potential. So if your daily habits don't serve your 10-year vision, change them now. Here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, and systems are built on time. It's not about motivation, it's about motion, done daily. The rich create processes that protect their future. The poor chase feelings that distract from it. That's not judgment, that's clarity. Because anyone can change this. This isn't genetic. This isn't luck. This is about training your brain to delay reward so that the reward becomes permanent. That's how you escape the hamster wheel. That's how you stop trading time for money. That's how you buy back your life. So what do you build with this mindset? You build asset. You build income streams. You build a body that lasts. You build a brand that compounds. You build relationships that grow deeper, not shallower. You build a version of you that isn't fragile. You invest in the you of 5 years from now, and you stop apologizing for thinking ahead, because while everyone else is panicking over today, you're creating a tomorrow they wish they planned for. That's not arrogance. That's responsibility, and it's rare, because the world worships now. But the winners, they master later. Here's a powerful exercise. Take one area of your life, money, health, love, skill, and map it out for 10 years. Ask, what would this look like if I gave it consistent attention every single day? Not perfection, not hustle, just consistency. Then reverse engineer it. What do I need to do this year, this month, this week? And then make it so small you can't fail. Because small, consistent actions beat big, dramatic ones every time. That's the long-term path. That's the path to unshakable wealth. That's the path to peace. One last reminder. If you think short-term, you'll make desperate moves. You'll chase trends. You'll cut corners. You'll burn bridges. You'll lose sight of the bigger picture. But if you think long-term, you'll build with integrity. You'll make decisions with legacy in mind. You'll say no to good things so you can say yes to great ones. That's the game the rich play. That's why they win. And the beautiful thing, you don't need to be rich to think rich. You just need to stretch your time perspective. Every decision you make today is a vote for the life you want 10 years from now. Cast wisely. Everyone says they want freedom. They say they want time. They say they want options. But the moment you mention discipline, they flinch. The truth is uncomfortable. Freedom isn't free. It's rented. And discipline is the price. You don't get freedom by doing what feels good. You get it by doing what's necessary, even when it doesn't feel good at all. That's the trade. That's the exchange. That's the real currency of success. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, you've earned a break. You can do it tomorrow. No one's watching. And every time you listen, you sell off a piece of your future. That's the deal comfort makes. It doesn't charge you up front. It charges you slowly, in dreams deferred, in goals delayed, in potential wasted. You don't notice it at first. But one day you wake up and realize you've traded the life you could have built for the couch you couldn't get off of. Discipline, on the other hand, it's quiet. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't flatter your ego. It just shows up every day. No excuses, no drama. It wakes you up early. It keeps you late. It sharpens your mind. It toughens your will. And most importantly, it builds freedom brick by brick. Discipline says you don't feel like it, do it anyway. You're tired, one more rep. You're scared, show up anyway. That's what separates the ones who build real wealth from the ones who just talk about it. The truth is, discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's not suffering, it's structure. It's not about control, it's about choosing your discomfort, now or late, because discomfort is coming either way. You can suffer the pain of discipline now, or suffer the pain of regret later. And regret is always heavier. Comfort says, this is enough. Discipline says, you are made for more. Comfort keeps you in the same circle. Discipline breaks the loop. Comfort wants easy wins. Discipline wants the war. One builds castles. The other builds excuses. Think of every area where you want freedom. Want financial freedom, discipline with money. Want health freedom, discipline with food and movement. Want emotional wheels, discipline with your thoughts. It always goes back to discipline, not hacks, not shortcuts, not lucky breaks. Just showing up, over and over, when nobody claps, when no one posts about it, when it's just you versus your old habits. That's the war, and the battlefield is daily life. You don't win with one big moment. You win with 1,000 quiet ones. So why do people run from discipline? Because it forces you to confront yourself. No distractions, no justifications, just raw accountability. Discipline puts the mirror in front of you and asks, what are you doing with your life? And if you don't like the answer, it gives you the tools to fix it. But first, you have to be honest enough to see it. Most people don't lack time. They lack standards. They don't lack talent. They lack repetition. They don't lack ideas. They lack the will to act on them daily. Discipline fills that gap. Here's the secret. Discipline gets easier. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You build proof. You build confidence. You build momentum. The workouts hurt less. The budgeting feels natural. The early mornings become your edge. Because every time you do what you said you'd do, you prove to yourself, I'm the kind of person who follows through. That identity is priceless, because the world tries to pull you everywhere, but discipline pulls you back to purpose. Let's be real, comfort is cheaper in the short term. Skip the gym, order food, binge the show. Feels great for now, but comfort doesn't invest in you. It consumes you, it wraps you in soft chains and convinces you you're free. Until one day, you try to climb and realize your legs forgot how to move. Discipline is the opposite. It stretches you. It demands from you. It builds strength in the places comfort made soft. It doesn't feel good every day, but it feels worth it. Every day you survive it. Want to test it? Audit your day. How many of your choices are driven by discipline, and how many are driven by comfort? Did you scroll or read? Did you move or rest again? Did you act or avoid? The answer doesn't need shame, it needs clarity. Because once you see it, you can change it. Comfort thrives in ignorance. Discipline grows in awareness. One dims your power, the other wakes it up. And here's the kicker. Discipline gives you freedom. The freedom to say no. The freedom to walk away. The freedom to build without begging. The freedom to live life on your terms. But you don't get that freedom by avoiding structure. You get it by mastering it. Structure is not your enemy. It's your anchor. It's how you create space to be who you want to be, not who you default to when you're tired. You want to feel free? Wake up early, move your body, control your spending, honor your plan, do the work, then watch how light your life feels. Because discipline isn't chains, it's wings. It lifts you above the noise. It makes you unshakable. It gives you access to versions of you that comfort will never unlock. You don't need a new life. You need new habits. And those habits are built in the gym of discipline. Reps of action over excuse. Reps of purpose over feeling. Reps of legacy over laziness. That's where freedom lives. Every morning, you have a choice. Comfort will whisper, stay in bed. Take it easy. Do it later. Discipline will say, let's go. Comfort will offer relief. Discipline will offer results. You already know which one leads to regret, so choose the one that leads to respect, self-respect, the kind that doesn't come from applause but from alignment, the kind that doesn't need praise, because it already feels proud. That's what discipline gives you. Let this be the shift. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to become it. You don't need to force motivation. You need to install structure. Make it non-negotiable. Make it boring if you have to, because boring builds better than emotional. You don't need a plan B. You need to stick to plan A longer than your past self would have allowed. And when that version of you rises, the one who trains, shows up, repeats, sharpens, that version doesn't hope for freedom. They embody it. Discipline is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most, whether or not you feel ready. Because the cost of comfort is subtle, but it's deadly. And the reward of discipline is delayed, but it's inevitable. So stack the habits, hold the line, show up tired, push past easy, reclaim your time, rebuild your identity. This is how freedom is bought, not with words, not with dreams, but with discipline. Day in, day out, until you look up and realize you don't need motivation anymore. Because the discipline already turned you into someone who doesn't back down. Focus is the most expensive currency you own. More than time, more than energy, more than money itself. Because whatever you give your attention to, you grow. Your health, your business, your peace, your bank account, your chaos, attention is fertilizer. It doesn't ask questions. It just multiplies what you feed it. And most people, they're feeding weeds. Let's get honest. You want more money? Look at where your attention is. Is it on building or scrolling? Is it on learning or escaping? Is it on solving problems or complaining about them? Because money doesn't just show up, it flows to the people who pay attention to what matters. The ones who study the game, the ones who listen to markets, not moods, the ones who double down on value, not vanity. Money is not hiding, it's waiting for you to lock in. Attention creates momentum, distraction creates confusion. Most people stay broke not because they're incapable, but because they're unfocused. They start one thing, quit, jump to another, compare, quit again, then complain. Meanwhile, someone else is boring. They've been working the same system for 3 years, and now it prints. Not because it's sexy, but because it's consistent. Money loves clarity, and clarity only comes when you cut the noise. If your life feels chaotic, you don't need more hustle. You need more focus. Think about this. If I followed you for 7 days and tracked where your attention went, what would it reveal? How much of it goes to your goals, your craft, your systems, and how much leaks into things that don't pay you, don't grow you, don't serve you. Every leak of attention is a leak of income. Every leak of attention is a leak of impact. Every leak of attention is a leak of impact. Every leak of attention is a delayed version of the life you say you want. Attention is not infinite. It's a finite fuel tank. And every click, scroll, swipe, and excuse burns a little more of it. You're not just wasting time, you're spending your most valuable asset without even knowing it. So how do you refocus? You start by getting brutal with your inputs. Who do you listen to? What do you consume? Where does your mind go when you're tired? These questions reveal everything. Because your attention is not just about time, it's about direction. Where are you pointing your life? If your compass is broken, if your habits are reactive, if your mind is always hijacked, you'll build someone else's dream, and you won't even notice until the year's over, and nothing changed. Let me be clear, the richest people in the world aren't the smartest. They're the most attentive. They've trained their minds to stay locked on what matters, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, even when it's not fun, especially when it's not fun. They obsess over customer problems. They watch market shifts. They test, track, refine. They ask better questions. They keep showing up. That's not talent. That's trained attention. And that kind of attention turns simple ideas into 7-figure outcomes. Not because it's magical, but because it's compound interest on focused effort. You can't fake that. You can't shortcut that. You can only earn it with intentional, directed focus over time. Most people underestimate how powerful boring can be. They think excitement, progress, but it's often the opposite. It's the quiet grind that builds the loudest results. Here's a brutal truth. Every time you give attention to something meaningless, you rob your future. You rob your business. You rob your family. You rob the version of you who could have been further ahead. That's the tax of distraction, and it's more expensive than you think. A missed opportunity, a broken habit, a delayed decision, a foggy plan, all from misused attention. So the question is simple. Where does your focus go when nobody's watching? Let's talk systems, because focus without direction is chaos. You need targets. You need structure. You need routines that protect your mental bandwidth. This is not about hustle porn. It's about resource allocation. You only have so much attention, so guard it like your freedom depends on it, because it does. Every minute spent on drama is a minute stolen from development. Every hour wasted in comparison is an hour not invested in creation. Every morning you wake up and don't decide what matters, you let the world decide for you. And the world is full of noise. Want to master your money? Start mastering your mornings. The first hour of your day sets the tone for everything. What you consume, what you ignore, what you build. You don't need 10 hours, you need one focused hour, done daily. That's how momentum is built. And momentum, not motivation, is what moves money. It moves people. It moves ideas. It moves you from where you are to where you want to be. So what should you focus on? Simple. Your value engine. Focus on what grows you, what sharpens you, what pays you, what compounds. That might mean building a product, or learning a skill, or fixing your offer, or emailing your list, or solving one specific problem deeper than anyone else. Whatever it is, put your full attention on it, not for one day, for as long as it takes. That's how real success works. You don't dabble your way into financial peace. You commit your attention. You put it all on the table and say, this matters more than my excuses. Here's what will try to steal your focus. Social media, opinions, fear, comparison, comfort, distraction disguised as productivity. They don't knock loudly. They whisper. They seep in. They hijack you until hours are gone and you don't even remember what you were building. The antidote: boundaries. Guard your space. Guard your mind. Guard your energy like your future is on the line, because it is. Let's land this. Money doesn't respond to anxiety. It responds to precision. It doesn't care if you feel busy. It cares if you're focused. So track your attention, audit your week, clean up your inputs, simplify your targets, build the habits that make distraction impossible. Because your attention is the sunlight of your life. And wherever it shines, that's what will grow. So stop watering weeds. Start growing wealth. Debt doesn't just cost you money. It costs you freedom. It costs you peace of mind. It costs you the ability to choose your life. And most people walk into it with open eyes and closed awareness. Debt is marketed like convenience. Buy now, pay later. Zero interest, monthly payments. But under the surface, it's a contract with your future self. A quiet agreement that says, I'll trade tomorrow's options for today's comfort. That's not freedom. That's a trap. Let's get real. Most consumer debt isn't survival. It's indulgence disguised as necessity. It's a lifestyle trying to outrun patience. It's the phone upgrade, the third streaming service, the trip you couldn't afford, the car that looks good but bleeds your paycheck. And the price isn't just the interest. It's the mental load, the sleepless nights, the paycheck that disappears before you even touch it. Debt is a weight, and the longer you carry it, the more it convinces you that it's normal. But it's not. Debt thrives in undisciplined environments, where budgets are loose, goals are fuzzy, and gratification is instant. It doesn't require evil intent, just casual habits. And over time, those casual habits become chains. Every swipe that says I'll deal with it later is a decision to handcuff your future self. Every ignored statement, every minimum payment, every I deserve this moment, they stack. And one day the tower collapses. Now let's be clear. Not all debt is bad. Debt can be a tool, a lever, an accelerator, if you control it. But the second it controls you, you're in trouble. There's a difference between using leverage to build assets and using credit to avoid discipline. One builds wealth, the other builds regret. The difference? Purpose, planning, restraint. Debt without a plan is disaster. We live in a world that rewards instant everything. Swipe it, ship it, stream it, finance it. And if you're not careful, you mistake access for affordability. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because it's approved doesn't mean it's aligned. Credit is not income. It's borrowed belief in your ability to repay. And if your habits don't match that belief, you'll drown in your own optimism. Here's what discipline looks like in a world of debt. You buy what you can afford. Twice. You delay what you want until it doesn't hurt your future. You track every dollar. You tell it where to go before it disappears. You avoid lifestyle creep, even when your income grows. That's not punishment. That's ownership. It's what separates those who build wealth from those who spend it on appearances. Let's talk numbers. If you carry $10,000 of credit card debt at 20% interest, you're losing $2,000 a year just for borrowing. That's $606 a month burned for nothing. That's not inflation. That's undisciplined leakage. And it compounds. That 10K becomes 20K because you never pause to ask, is this helping me or just feeding my cravings? Discipline stops that bleeding. It forces the hard questions. It replaces temporary highs with permanent peace. Now maybe you're already in debt, drowning in it, ashamed of it, avoiding it. Here's the truth. Shame doesn't pay off debt. Action does. Start where you are. List it all. Face the monster. You can't fix what you're too afraid to confront. And once it's clear, build a plan, not an emotional one, a mathematical one. Because emotion got you here, discipline will get you out. Start with smallest balances, stack wins, then tackle interest. Track every dollar, cut the fluff, sell what you don't need, pause the luxuries, increase your income, attack the beast, and most importantly, never go back. Debt freedom isn't just financial, it's spiritual. It changes how you breathe, how you sleep, how you walk into rooms. It removes the quiet shame you never knew you were carrying. That's what we're after. Here's the mental shift. Debt is not normal. It's a signal, a mirror. It shows where discipline broke down. So fix the discipline, and the debt will follow. Rewire the impulse. Rethink the purchase. Reclaim the future. Because your peace is too expensive to be sold for shoes you don't wear. Debt is sticky. It multiplies. It compounds your smallest choices into massive consequences. But so does discipline. The small no, the skipped impulse, the packed lunch, the held boundary. They compound too, into pride, into savings, into freedom. So choose your compounding. One leads to chains, the other leads to peace. Let's talk mindset. Debt isn't just math, it's emotion, it's identity. It's often a reflection of how we handle discomfort. So learn to sit with discomfort. Learn to delay, to walk away, to pause, to breathe, to wait. That's the real discipline. And when you master that, you stop being a customer of everyone else's empire and start building your own. Freedom isn't always fun in the beginning. It means saying no, missing out, skipping the show, delaying the trip. But every no you say today is a louder yes in the future. Yes to ownership. Yes to options. Yes to a life that doesn't ask permission. Discipline buys freedom. Debt sells it. That's the truth nobody sells you in those flashy finance commercials. Remember this. The world profits when you stay in debt. Banks profit. Retailers profit. Credit cards profit. Your struggle is their business model. And the only way to beat that system is to stop playing their game. You play a longer one, a slower one, a smarter one. You play the game of ownership, of stacking capital, of building value, of choosing discomfort today so you can own the table tomorrow. Debt is a tax on the undisciplined, but discipline is the refund, and you're eligible starting now. In the world of wealth, cash flow is the heartbeat. It's not the balance you brag about. It's not the number on your tax return. It's the rhythm of money coming in, staying in, flowing through. And if that rhythm is broken, you suffocate. No matter how impressive your income looks on paper, cash flow is life force. It feeds the machine. It pays your peace. It protects your choices. A millionaire with poor cash flow can lose everything in months. But a modest earner with excellent flow can become unstoppable. This is the truth people forget. Most people chase the lump sum, the big hit, the one-time payout. But that's a mirage. Wealth isn't about how much you make once. It's about how predictably it moves through your life. Cash flow buys time. It buys bandwidth. It lets you say no to bad clients, bad deals, and bad jobs. It's your armor against chaos, and best of all, it scales without permission. The first thing you need to understand about cash flow is this: it's not about being rich. It's about being consistent. You don't need 10 income streams today. You need one reliable one. One that doesn't depend on your mood. One that survives market shifts. One you can build on. Because consistency compounds. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. But it feeds your future quietly and relentlessly. So how do you build cash flow? You build value. You solve real problems. You show up with solutions every day. And you systematize the delivery. That could be a service, a product, a subscription, an asset, a machine that moves money without draining you. Cash flow doesn't mean passive. It means intentional. And when you design it well, you stop trading time for dollars and start trading systems for scale. But cash flow alone is not the crown. The crown is credit. Let's talk about that. Because while cash flow keeps the lights on, credit builds the castle. Credit is trust, converted into leverage. It's your ability to borrow reputation, borrow capital, borrow acceleration, and if you understand it, you can grow years ahead of your savings. But here's the catch. Credit is not a cheat code. It's a test. Used recklessly, it drowns you. Used wisely, it lifts you. And most people fail the test because they mistake access for intelligence. A good credit score isn't a flex. It's a responsibility. It's a sign that you know how to manage promises. And in the real world, money follows those who keep promises. So how do cash flow and credit work together? Cash flow buys your today. Credit empowers your tomorrow. Cash flow says, I can afford this now. Credit says, I've built enough trust to borrow scale. But without the flow, credit is dangerous. And without credit, flow has limits. Together, though, they're a weapon, the king and the crown. Let's get practical. You want cash flow? Simplify your model. Focus on one thing that works, then automate, delegate, or productize it. Track every dollar, kill vanity, keep expenses lean, and above all, pay yourself first. You want credit? Respect it. Pay early. Don't max. Diversify accounts. Understand utilization. Check reports quarterly. Treat it like reputation because that's what it is. Most people build income. Few build infrastructure. You want real wealth? Build systems. Build credit. Build cash flow. Those three things, they'll outlast any paycheck, any trend, any crash. Because when the world shakes, systems stay standing. And systems with cash flow and access to credit don't just survive, they buy. Let's flip the mindset. Stop thinking of cash flow as survival. Think of it as strategy. Each flow is a vote for your freedom, your vision, your independence. And every month it pays you, it compounds your confidence. Confidence is underrated. But when your rent is covered, your debt is shrinking, and your business pays you without begging, you think differently. You breathe differently. You want to escape survival mode? Track your inflow, every source, every stream, every transaction, then simplify. Don't get seduced by 10 income streams that make $20. Build one that makes $2,000, then stabilize it, then replicate it. That's the real formula. And once the flow is clean, use credit like a lever. Buy equipment, buy ads, buy distribution, buy time, but only when you have a plan to turn that debt into greater flow. Credit used to chase lifestyle? Dangerous. Credit used to chase scale? Smart, if disciplined. And discipline is non-negotiable in this game. Without it, both the king and the crown fall. You'll hear people say cash is king. It's not wrong, but cash flows are king. Static money doesn't help you. Money in motion, strategic, consistent, repeatable, does. And credit is your crown. Not because it makes you royal, but because it's what separates the ones who survive from the ones who scale. Both are necessary, both are powerful, but only when earned. So here's the checklist. Is your income systematized? Is it scalable without your presence? Are you tracking every inflow and outflow? Are your expenses optimized, not just automated? Is your credit score protected, like your reputation? Are you using leverage to scale value, not vanity? If you answered no to any of those, that's where your work begins. Because if cash flow is the king, it's your job to protect him, and if credit is the crown, it's your job to earn it. Remember, money moves to structure. Structure sustains freedom. Freedom multiplies focus. And focused cash flow is unbeatable. You don't need more ideas, you need cleaner flow and smarter credit. Not for status, but for sovereignty. Let's end this the way it should be ended, with the truth. No one puts on a poster. You don't get rich. You build rich. You build it choice by choice, hour by hour, year by year. There's no shortcut, no secret, no system that saves you from the sweat. The rich you admire, they weren't chosen. They were built long before the cars, the homes, the freedom. They made the decision not to get lucky, but to get focused. You build rich when you stop looking for a hack and start building a habit. You build rich when you trade dopamine for discipline. You build rich when you say no to things that feel good now, so you can say yes to everything that matters later. And here's the key. Nobody's gonna clap. Nobody's gonna cheer. You won't go viral for budgeting. You won't trend for saying no to brunch. There's no applause for doing the right thing in silence. That's why most people never build. You want rich? Master boring. Track your money. Track your habits. Show up daily. Ignore the noise. Stay the course. Boring builds. And in a world addicted to distraction, boring is your superpower. You don't need 50 investments. You need one you understand. You don't need 10 businesses. You need one that pays consistently. You don't need endless motivation. You need ruthless consistency. Let's be clear. Rich isn't just money. It's time. It's freedom. It's peace. It's waking up and doing what you want because you can. And that kind of rich, it's built on choices most people never see. It's waking up earlier, learning while others scroll, investing while others flex, refusing to waste weekends on nothing. That's where it starts. You build rich by accepting what others won't, the grind, the stillness, the delayed celebration. And you protect that build like your life depends on it, because it does. One distraction can delay you. One bad habit can cost you years. One emotional purchase can sabotage a month of discipline. It's that serious. The wealthy think in decades. Builders think in bricks. Every dollar saved, every deal closed, every book finished, every workout logged, every call made. Brick, brick, brick. Until one day you look up and you're standing inside the house you built. Not rented, not borrowed, not inherited, built. So here's what you need to know. Nobody owes you the rich life. It's not gifted. It's not passed down by magic. It's not manifested through wishes. It's earned. It's engineered. It's constructed in silence. Built in the gym while others sleep. Built in the library while others party. Built in the studio while others complain. It's earned in the dark and revealed in the light. People will doubt you. That's part of the price. People will laugh. That's part of the path. But the builders, they don't flinch. They just lay another brick. Because the vision is louder than the opinions, and every step forward is a silent promise. I will not die poor. I will not die average. I will not die without building something that outlives me. You want to get rich? Start acting like it, not pretending. Building. Track everything. Invest more than you spend. Automate your savings. Study wealth daily. Talk less. Execute more. Let the results speak. Let the numbers talk. Let the freedom shout and silence the noise. Here's a hard truth. Most people want to feel rich. Few want to be rich. They want the illusion, the lifestyle, the clout. But builders, they want the option. The option to walk away, to disappear, to never need another dollar again, and still be at peace. That kind of rich isn't found, it's forged. And forging takes fire. It takes sacrifice. It takes focus when no one's watching. It takes saying no to comfort so you can say yes to legacy. So write your goals down, tape them to your mirror, look at them every morning, then ask, are my actions today serving that vision? If not, change them. This is your blueprint. Earn more than you spend, save before you flex, invest before you impress, learn before you leap, execute before you celebrate. Do that for a decade. You won't recognize your life, but only if you stay the builder, not the talker, not the dreamer, the builder. The rich are not lucky. They are obsessed, obsessed with value, obsessed with growth, obsessed with ownership. And ownership starts in the mind. Own your decisions, own your mistakes, own your goals, own your time. Because once you own those, you'll own the outcome. You don't build rich to prove anything. You build it to protect everything. Your family, your peace, your health, your time. That's why this matters. The house, the car, the clothes, they're a byproduct. But peace, that's the real prize. So today, start building, even if you're broke, even if you're behind, even if nobody believes. Especially then, because that's where greatness starts, in quiet rooms, with loud decisions. It starts when you stop waiting, stop blaming, stop numbing. It starts with one small decision. I'm going to build something no one can take from me. Then you stack another, and you don't stop until the vision becomes visible. And when it does, they'll call you lucky. Let them. Because by then you'll know the truth. You didn't get rich, you built it. And this was the law of money.